And Duke takes the field with the football. Let's check in with Eric Wood.
As Duke takes the field today, the story on offense for them is starting center Will Taylor. In 2017, Will thought he suffered a career-ending knee injury that caused nerve damage for him. He had drop foot, still does not have feeling or movement in his toes, and he will be the starting center for Duke today, one of the most respected players on the team for the Blue Devils.
Just the 7th game of his career after that injury. Quentin Harris is the Blue Devil quarterback. And on first down, finds the tight end, Noah Gray. Gray comes in. That's his 37th catch of the year, just 3 behind Jalen Calhoun, their leading receiver, and there is Quentin Harris.
Well, we loved talking to Quentin Harris yesterday, a guy who's going to end up running a company at some point. Has struggled with turnovers at times this year. He's going to have to take care of the football today.
He'll keep it. First down for Harris, out to the 40-yard line on a 10-yard play. Antoine Cordy, Evan Foster out of a Syracuse secondary that's under the new leadership of a defensive coordinator in Steve Stannard, who replaced Brian Ward, who was let go 2 weeks ago after the loss at home to Boston College.
Boston College ran for 496 yards against the Syracuse team, so a change at the top on the defense.
Ball is dropped on the throw to the perimeter. Is it ruled a fumble? It is. It'll be a loss of almost 4 on the play. Deion Jackson, the intended receiver. But it is ruled a lateral by referee Jeff Easer and his crew. And already you can tell Duke wants to get the ball out of the hand of Quentin Harris in the pass game, Roddy.
They certainly do. In the drop-back pass game, he has not been prolific this year, so you see a couple of short passes, easy throws early.
2nd and long. Trying to dial across the field, and it's caught, and this is Aaron Young in the Syracuse territory toward the 38-yard line. Tackle made by Christopher Frederick on Young's 21st catch of the year in a 25-yard play.
Well, it's an easy read. You see the linebacker step up on the play action. Like Andre Cisco, the free safety, almost made a play on that ball, but a good throw from Quentin Harris and a big first down for Duke.
Blue Devils, who throw for only 186 yards a ball game, already getting something in the pass game, and that sets up Jackson's run for 9 yards. So Deion Jackson brought down by the Orange leading tackler Lakeem Williams.
This downhill run game is something that Syracuse struggled with against Boston College. I'd expect Duke to test this front a lot today.
Jackson one more time will pick up the first down and break the 25 for the Blue Devils. KJ Rupp the stop, part of that front for the Orange defensively. And you get a look at Deion Jackson Jr. from Atlanta at 69 yards on 20 carries and 2 scores in the win here against Georgia Tech. 11th in the ACC and 539 yards rushing coming in. Harris faked the throw, and not a lot there to the right side. Quentin Harris is as valuable in the run game as he is in the throw game. Maybe even today, given the windy conditions and chilly temps, more valuable in the run game.
Well, they use him in a multitude of different ways. Not a really big scrambler, but the quarterback run game that you saw right there is going to be a big part. And largely when that happens, he's going to follow his big tight end, Noah Gray, number 87.
2nd in the full 10. That's Calhoun in motion. And our first marker of the day. Looked like the Blue Devils got an early start.
Offense number 67. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Rock Chambers making his 23rd start of his Blue Devil career.
And it looked like the entire offensive line moved on that one. So if I'm going to pin it on anybody, it may be the center, Will Taylor, not getting the snap count correct on that one, holding onto the ball, because everybody else was running the play.
Calhoun again in motion. Harris wants to throw. Pressure coming. Put it up for grabs and overshoots Jackson, incomplete. Quentin Harris took a big shot and is slow to his feet here.
You're going to see the pressure come from right up the middle. It's number 46, Lakeem Williams, and meeting him there was number 5, Chris Elmore, the Rhino, who we'll see on offense as a lead blocker. We'll see him at defensive tackle. Quentin Harris toughing it out, but Lakeem Williams right there getting up the middle. And Duke has really struggled in this situation this year. 3rd and 7+ of the worst team in the ACC West, 16.7%. I'd expect a fairly conservative call because of the turnover issues that they've had.
Blue Devils are 11th in the ACC on 3rd down. Syracuse is 12th in the league defensively on 3rd down, and now we're just going to have a timeout burned by David Cutcliffe.
Charge timeout.
Opening drive of the ball game, 3 minutes and change. linebackers for Dino Babers and was kind of given the keys to this unit 13 days ago.
Yeah, and Eric identified before we went to break, that was a look that they gave on that third down that we're not necessarily accustomed to seeing. May have caused the timeout for Duke.
All right, so Quentin Harris and the Blue Devils with 3rd and 15. Opening drive of the ball game. Jackson trying to find something off the right side, and the Orange handled well. Only 3 yards on the play for Deion Jackson. Well, now we deal with the first decision of the day in terms of the conditions. And it looks like the Blue Devils are going to bring A.J. Reed on to try the field goal. His longest of the year is 50 earlier in the season against North Carolina A&T.
And this may
he's 9 of 10 on the year.
This may seem like a 50-yard field goal kicking into the wind, although it's not as strong as it's been earlier in the game.
First miss was last week, 44 yards against Notre Dame. This one is 43. It hangs up there, and it's no good. Tug just a little to the left for A.J. Reed. So after missing last week against Notre Dame, he's missed 2 in a row after hitting his first 9.
That's a win for this Syracuse defense. A little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence for them as you see the field goal goes just to the right of the uprights. But a Syracuse defense that really struggled a week ago. The switch defensive coordinators are able to get a big stop here for Duke. And stops like that are going to be huge because of the win. These are 2 really good special teams units, but that's a factor that is tough to overcome.
Tommy DeVito and the Orange go to work on offense, and here is DeVito trying to get something on the ground and dives for 5 to the 31. Chased by Dylan Singleton, and you get a look at Tommy DeVito, the redshirt sophomore, Cedar Grove, New Jersey, who's got the 3rd longest active FBS streaks of pass attempts without an interception.
Yeah, but only 4 of his 15 touchdown passes have come in ACC play, so since conference play started, struggled.
Here is DeVito, and this is Tristan Jackson breaking free. Jackson inside the 20 to the 18. Explosive play for the Orange on the 2nd snap.
This is a Duke defense that's going to come up and press. You see the play action sucks everybody up, and then it's one-on-one on the outside. And Tristan Jackson gets the better of this Duke defense. It's number 30, Jalen Alexander, that wasn't able to keep up in man-to-man coverage. And Tristan Jackson is a big play machine for the Syracuse offense.
50 yards and a first down, guys.
You're right, Roddy. That's his 9th reception on the year over 30 yards. That leads the ACC.
And DeVito just lowers his head for a couple of yards here on the keep. And the one thing that Duke's defensive coordinator Matt Guerreri was concerned most about, Roddy, tending to the basics against what the Orange want to do, the tempo and all those things, but very concerned about the explosives.
And he should be, because his team is going to come up and challenge. They're going to put these corners in situations where it's one-on-one. And Tristan Jackson, Taj Harris, Sean Riley are explosive guys where if Tommy DeVito gets him the ball, they can do something with it.
And Mo Neal on the play fake, and there is Jackson for the touchdown. Tristan Jackson beats Jalen Alexander. Tommy DeVito throws his 16th touchdown pass of the year, and Jackson catches his 9th.
Well, it's almost the exact same route from Tristan Jackson. It's a play action. Jackson just beats Alexander to the inside. Easy pitch and catch. 2 easy pitch and catches for Tommy DeVito. And this Syracuse offense looks like the bye week has done them well in their explosive category. 4
plays, 74 yards in 96 seconds. Andre Schmidt's point after makes it 7-0. Pretty good start for the Orange. They get a stop on Duke. Big play to Jackson for 50 yards, and then DeVito fires one in there for 18 in the score.
In my house, our holiday tradition is a secret.
Meeting as members of the ACC and just their 4th all time. And prior to 5 years ago, you got to go all the way back to the late 1930s when Syracuse and Duke exchanged ball games. That's when the man whose name's on the stadium, Wallace Wade, coached the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I'm sure one of the callers into your show probably was at that game.
Is that where you're going, you think? Is that right? Nice. By the way, Syracuse, very tidy 4-play drive featuring their 50-yard play to Jackson, and then Tommy DeVito dials Tristan Jackson for another score. The kick by Hofrichter over the head of Michael Carter. So Duke will scrimmage from its 25, and you see Tristan Jackson being stretched out a little bit after catching his 9th score of the year.
Well, they're obviously working on his hamstring. It's a cold day, or the back of his leg. They had that percussion massager on it, trying to loosen it up a little bit a second ago. And that's going to be paramount for these guys, especially the fast twitch guys, the receivers, corners. On a cold day like that, you get a little tugging going on. You got to make sure you stay loose.
So here is Quentin Harris and Duke, who ran 10 plays and missed a field goal. And here's a first down throw, and Aaron Young falling to the ground after a gain of about 4. Melifonwu there in coverage.
Duke has decided to go with a lot of the short pass game. Dave Cutcliffe told us that it's really important that 60% of their plays go for 4 yards or more to get in 3rd and shorts and keep the situations manageable.
Blue Devils trying to get it going tempo-wise, and that time Evan Foster almost ran into an interception on a ball for Deion Jackson.
Also, with the quick reads, we talked to David Cutcliffe yesterday, and he said the strengths of Quentin Harris are his feet and his arm strength. He's still a young quarterback, not many starts under his belt. He wants to take away the full field reads for him and make the game plan simpler.
Well, here is 3rd and 6 now for Duke. It's been a tough distance for the Blue Devils. Inside route, and Young the catch for the first down. Melifonwu again the tackle on Aaron Young, who has gotten busy here early on the first 2 possessions.
Certainly has. It seems like Aaron Young and Noah Gray are the 2 guys that Quentin Harris really likes, and both of those guys are in the slots.
Another quick throw, and this is Deion Jackson up near midfield and stepped through a tackle. Melifonwu had the first shot, and then he banged into Antoine Cordy, but had already broken the 50 into Syracuse territory. So again, for the 2nd straight possession, Duke's got a little momentum about their offense.
They certainly do, and they're forcing Syracuse to play their hand early with this empty set, putting them in situations to get some man-on-man coverage, but off coverage on the outside, and they've gone quick.
Orange coming with the pressure, the throw to Gray, and Andre Sisco the stop of the tight end Noah Gray, but Alton Robinson was the guy who was quick into the pocket on the Quentin Harris offer.
Well, what this empty set does is if the safeties are going to play man-to-man coverage on those slots, they can't do it from this deep. They're going to have to move up closer, which lets Quentin know.
Look out. Lakeem Williams, Roddy. We talked about Robinson the snap before. This time they didn't account for Williams.
They certainly did, and you get 4 guys coming. Lakeem Williams comes right up the middle. And that was one of those tendency breakers. On the last play, Andre Sisco moves up to play man-to-man coverage on Noah Gray. That time, he stays back deep. It's something that Quentin Harris in this offensive line obviously didn't anticipate, and a negative play putting him in 3rd and long.
So Mateo Durant has come into the ball game on 3rd and 11.
So Syracuse has 3 defensive linemen on one side. They've got the 2 linebackers right here. It's a look that we have not seen. They showed it on the first drive. Duke called a timeout.
Harris tried to keep it, and Syracuse makes the play. Kendall Coleman, the first of several white shirts to arrive. So Steve Stannard's already got a little bit of a bead here with his packaging.
Well, it's something different. They try and run the speed option, and Quentin Harris has got to pitch that ball. The in man on the line of scrimmage, Kendall Coleman, is the guy that you pitch off on that speed option. You've got him leveraged. Kick it to your running back and let him make a play in space. Harris doesn't make the right read, gets tackled for a loss.
Sean Riley will wait on the punt of Austin Parker. And he'll try and flip it over on a bounce at the 25. And Riley will let that get into the end zone. And the Orange will take over. Syracuse already a 7-0 lead. Duke's had it twice. Nothing to show so far. To sign up now.
Wes, the Mandalorian. All I'm going to tell you is come for the first episode, stay to the end, and you're sold on the entire season.
They had me when I found out that Dean Jones and the Shaggy DA and the original Swiss Family Robinson with James MacArthur was online now.
Yeah, okay. We're talking different languages here.
Yeah, we are. We're talking
different sections.
We're
of
talking
Disney
about
Plus
40 years of difference is what we're talking about. 2nd and 5 after Bo Neal, and here goes Neal again. North Carolinian returning to his home state and into Duke territory before Waters makes the tackle.
Well, Duke has jumped into this set where they've got 3 down linemen, and they use Chris Rumpf as a little bit of a rover, but Syracuse just gashes him. O'Neal is able to get into the secondary and create another explosive play for this offense.
The Rhino, Chris Elmore, with the lead block there. DeVito wants to take another shot. Taj Harris can't run under it. And it will be second in the full 10 for the Orange.
And Wes, Syracuse has found a matchup that they like. Taj Harris, Tristan Jackson on number 30, the freshman Jalen Alexander, who's playing in the slot. He's playing the slot receiver. Anytime they've gotten that matchup, they've gone to it time and time again. Tristan Jackson, 2 big catches that you saw Taj Harris. It's this matchup right here.
Here's DeVito, again, Neal fighting through. And it will be 3rd and about 5 for the Orange. Now Duke has done some shuffling in the secondary. Josh Blackwell not playing today, a veteran guy who's got a lot of experience, who would have been his 14th start of his career. He's really found a home in the secondary this year. So Blackwell not able to go. So Alexander and Michael Carter are 2 guys that have been on the move, Roddy, as a result of that injury to Blackwell. Here's DeVito, quick throw to the perimeter side, and that is Mo Neal making the catch, but he'll be just shy of the first down on the tackle by the linebacker Kobe Kwanzaa. There's a look at Kwanzaa. Comes in leading Duke with 83 stops on the season.
Syracuse going for it on 4th down.
Here is DeVito. Plenty of time left to snap it. He's got 2 tight ends.
They're lined up like they're going to run the quarterback sneak. Typically, when Syracuse does that, they do it quick, and then Dino Babers is going to call a timeout and talk about it.
Saw the tight end Aaron Hackett there, but Dino Babers wants to talk about it. His team already up a score. Who's been outscored 177 to 106 in the first half this year, and it's been pretty ugly at times in ACC play. Now all of a sudden has themselves 4th and 1, Roddy. We thought they were going to maybe sneak it with the jumbo package, and now all of a sudden they go get all the big uns and get in the gun here.
Well, it's 0 coverage on the outside, so they may take a shot, but it could be quarterback run as well.
It is Mo Neal, and if he got to the 31, he'll have it. Drew Jordan made the tackle. Well, this is all about the left foot and the right foot in terms of the spot.
Absolutely. It's just a handoff up the middle to Mo Neal. It looks like, as you said, it's going to come down to the spot. I'm not sure that the ball got past it for sure. But
I think he got the left foot.
Yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness, I think he got the left foot. Yeah.
Oh, I'm with you.
And Jeff Heiser, the referee, oversees this. And indeed, Neal converts the 4th down.
That's a big 4th and 1 conversion. And coming off the bye week, Syracuse has shuffled their offensive line up front. Normal starting center Aaron Service is now playing left tackle, the redshirt junior. And the redshirt freshman number 52, Carlos Vettorello, he moves inside the center. And so far, they have ran the ball more effectively than we've seen them so far this season.
Well, we know from following the Orange a little bit this year, Service is more of a natural left tackle. When the injury to Sam Heckel occurred, Service went back to the old position at center, but it was interesting. Mike Lynch told us Service is a far better left tackle. We get a whistle as Syracuse snapped it, and the marker has come down.
Offense, number 86, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Roddy, Eric, well, look, you get a bye week, you can do some hardcore research and analysis about maybe where you're going to be better, and also test it a little bit, right?
Yeah, and when you cross-train those guys, as many offensive lines do, plugging a guy in the bye week and getting him up to speed really isn't that hard.
After the penalty, look at Mo Neal dance through the secondary. Neal to the perimeter and hits the pylon. Did he get enough of it? No, out of bounds at the 1. Leonard Johnson saves the touchdown.
Well, it started off looking like an outside zone play, but Mo Neal cuts it back. I think that's the right call out at the 1.
Yep, the knee hit before the ball hit the pylon.
Exactly, yep.
I think Jeff Heiser, they're going to...
is under further review.
Our director, Adam Bryant, our outstanding crew, gives us a great look at this on a couple of different vantage points. But if the knee hits before the ball hits the pylon is the question.
That right foot is inbounds, and it's a bang-bang play. Remember, the call on the field was that he's out on the 1. So let's see if anything hits. I don't know that you can tell that the fingertips aren't on the ground as well. This will give us a great view. I think that hand, the right hand is actually the first, excuse me, the left hand is actually the first thing to come down. That hand right there is already on the ground when it hits the pylon. So there's nothing that I've seen so far that lets you overturn this call.
Right.
So it looks from the ones that we've seen so far like it's going to at least stand.
Here's another angle. Left knee. Wow, it is bang, bang.
It is bang, bang, and it's anything that comes out of bounds. So it could be that knee, that hand, anything that comes out of bounds. Right there, the ball has not yet hit the pylon. I can't. There's the contact with the knee.
But there's not enough to overturn.
There's not enough to overturn it. I agree. Yep, absolutely.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands.
So first and goal at the 1. Mo Neal in a bit of a homecoming. Senior from Gastonia, North Carolina. Outside of Charlotte. Has already got 80 yards on 5 carries here in the opening period.
Big situation coming up for Syracuse here. This will be Vettorello's first goal line snaps to quarterback Tommy DeVito in a game. I know how that feels as a former center. This can be a tough situation. No one is lined up directly over the top of him, though, which can be easier for the center.
Quick throw for Harris. Couldn't hang on. The Duke secondary with Michael Carter the second defending.
A good point by you, Eric. The fact that nobody lined up over the center. I'm not sure if I'm Syracuse, I'm not trying to quarterback sneak right here. But nobody runs quarterback sneak anymore. It's all shotgun.
Second and goal. DeVito will keep it and score. Tommy DeVito scoring on the ground, and Syracuse has 2 possessions and 2 touchdowns here in the opening period.
It's a Syracuse offense that got off to a hot start a couple of weeks ago against Boston College, but this is different. We've seen them a lot this year, and they look different than they have, especially in ACC play. The explosiveness, the bounce, you can see the confidence that the Syracuse offense is playing with, and now with the 2-score lead over the Duke Blue Devils.
The point after by Schmidt is good. The Orange now with a 2-touchdown advantage in the opening period in Durham.
Well, this is the same speed option that we saw from Duke at the end of their last drive, but Victor Dimukeje just gets upfield. Tommy DeVito gives him a little head fake outside like he's going to pitch it, cuts it up, and is able to get in the end zone. It's about as easy as it comes when you get that far upfield. Quarterback got to press it, get to the line of scrimmage, and get in the end zone.
So DeVito in the orange. Quite a statement, Roddy, coming off the bye week for Dino Babers' team.
I think it's almost a bigger statement for this defense that we're going to see for the 3rd time. Being able to come out after being completely embarrassed against Boston College. Gave a little bit of confidence to this offense. It looks like the explosive plays have had an explosive play on each of those drives. And Dino Babers has got to be happy about what they have done so far in this game. And you know he loves his offense, but he's got to be proud of his defense too.
Absolutely.
It's a big drive coming up for Duke as well. Duke's offense has struggled in the last 3 games. They haven't scored over 20 points in any of their last 3 ball games. They cannot get down by 3 scores. They are not a big, explosive offense.
There'll be no return here. Don't forget, this is game 1 of our ACC Network doubleheader. Coming up, we'll send you over to Raleigh. Dave O'Brien, Tim Hasselbeck, Katie George standing by. Into the Atlantic Division for the Louisville Cardinals. 5-4, 3-3 in conference play against NC State. 4-5 is Dave Doran's team. 1-4 in conference play. Javion Hawkins needs 22 yards tonight rushing for the Cards to become the first running back since Bilal Powell in 2010 to run for 1,000 yards in a season. Catch and a big one by Jake Bobo, who was 50-50 whether or not he would play coming to the ball game today, and that's a nice catch on first down.
Been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring the past couple of weeks, and It's a great hands catch, able to hold on to it. Power forward for some more yardage.
Grabbed by Bobo. 1st and 10 on a 17-yard throw. And looks like Mateo Durant or Deion Jackson. 25 Jackson. Just a yard or two on 1st down. Duke comes into the game 13th in the league, 108th nationally at 344 yards a game. The Blue Devils run for almost 160 a contest. But as Roddy told you, the offense has been fighting uphill here the last couple of weeks, and that ball got deflected away by Kendall Coleman. And it's incomplete.
Well, that was really interesting by Duke. You see teams all the time go on 2, but they do it quick rather than giving Syracuse a chance to adjust. And Kendall Coleman coming off the edge, just able to get in the throwing lane. But Duke was able to call Syracuse bluff, was able to see the blitz coming and had the answer, but Coleman made a good play on it.
3rd and long for the Blue Devils. Harris to Gray, the tight end. And I think he got just enough for the 1st down to the Orange 48-yard line. Andre Cisco makes the tackle for Dino Babers' club.
Noah Gray's the security blanket. He's asked to do a lot on this Duke offense. He's asked to lead up in the run game, block on the edge, and also catch passes. He's been a fantastic emergence for him this year on this Duke team.
And we're going to get a procedure call.
Offense, number 11, 5-yard penalty.
On the Blue Devils.
1st down.
There's Noah Gray.
Yeah, 2nd in catches on the season. It just shows you Duke a year ago lost their top 4 pass catchers. So the question was, who was going to be the guy to step up or the people to step up in this pass game? And Noah Gray's been one of them.
Quentin Harris will keep this time. He will fight to the 45.
I think Duke needs to continue to go to that quarterback run game. The fact that it adds an extra number, you're able to get an extra hat in the box to block, is really going to help them with Quentin Harris's ability to run the football. And it also keeps you in some of these, keeps you out of some of these 3rd and long situations that you've really struggled in this year.
Final 90 seconds of the 1st quarter. Harris in trouble again, and he'll be sacked. Tuazama led the charge here. 2nd sack for Syracuse.
Well, you saw Alton Robinson coming off the edge, able to beat the right tackle, Jacob Monk, and get into the backfield, and that forced Quentin Harris up into the waiting arms of a couple of his teammates. And once again, Syracuse is playing a lot of man-to-man coverage before 3rd down, challenging Duke down the field. Here it looks like they're going to drop 8.
Just 3 on the rush. Harris tried to skip it across, and it's incomplete. Alton Robinson again led the charge. That's Casey Holman, the left tackle, who's down for the Blue Devils.
These 2 freshman tackles for Duke have their hands full. Syracuse's 2 senior defensive ends, Coleman and Robinson, are both excellent ball players. Both came into the season, preseason all ACC, and a little bit of a disappointing year for them, but they've gotten a lot of attention from other teams' offensive lines, chips from running backs, tight ends.
Ooh. You see Holman collide with Rock Chambers on the play. And so Casey Holman, this redshirt freshman from Snellville, Georgia, shaken up. And the Duke medical staff out to attend. And we will step aside as well in Durham at Wallace Wade Stadium. Back after this. Well, they're still tending to Casey Holman, the left tackle. And back with Roddy Jones, West Durham. Syracuse already 14 points in their first 2 offensive possessions. And boy, what a difference a bye week has made for Dino Babers on both sides.
It certainly has. Offensively, they've been aggressive. They've challenged Duke on the defensive side of the football, a Duke team that likes to come up and press you. And they've hit some big plays. It's also helped in the run game. When you get a lot of man-to-man coverage on the back end, you get those corners being run off, and there's nobody there after linebacker level. And then defensively, they've been aggressive as well. We've seen them challenge Duke on the outside. We've seen them blitz Quentin Harris a little bit, and they've been able to create some pressure, so it's been really impressive.
Steve Stannard took over as the interim defensive coordinator the Sunday after the home loss to Boston College, and a difficult move for Dino Babers because Brian Ward, the defensive coordinator, had been with him a long time, back to the days at Bowling Green and even a little bit with Eastern Illinois. So not an easy change for Babers, who, of course, won 10 ball games a year ago. Stannard, however, has changed a little bit of the playing personality of that unit in just the couple of possessions we've seen.
Well, it seems like there's less games up front. It's more blitzing from the linebackers, keeping it simple for those guys. The looks may be a little more exotic. I mean, we saw a look with 3 defensive linemen on one side of the offensive line. Linebackers walked up on the other. So creating a little bit of confusion on the offense. And you see those guys talking on the sideline as well.
Yeah, well, the Orange have been fighting a little bit, trying to get through a tough skid. They're the only ACC team without a conference win. You see the win to Liberty to start the year, and then, Roddy, I don't know what happened at College Park, but it had a lingering effect on this team.
It certainly did. In College Park, that game against Maryland, you can look at and kind of think it was an aberration, but we saw some of those tendencies start to creep up. They struggled tackling the football, gave up a ton of big plays. Once they got an ACC play, we really started to see that rear its ugly head. Again, 4 straight losses, but you wouldn't know it looking at this game. You would know. You would think that this is an offense and a defense, really, playing with a lot of confidence and coming off of games where they've gotten a lot of momentum, which hasn't been the case, but the bye week certainly helped them.
By the way, they have brought a stretcher out to help Casey Holman, and they'll certainly, both schools combining with their medical sports medicine folks and the doctors affiliated with both programs here to make sure if Casey Holman does have any kind of significant injury, they handle him with care, and you can see the collaborative effort really of both institutions there as they try and help this redshirt freshman from the playing field. And the other part about where we are with Syracuse is a little bit concerning Duke, and that is Syracuse has to kind of run the table here to get to postseason. Duke needs to find a couple wins in their last 3 ball games. So the finality of these regular seasons, and these are programs that had bowl aspirations when the year started, and now they're going to have to play this thing out, and in the case of Syracuse, play it all the way out.
They do. This is, as you said, it's a program that won 10 games a year ago. There was a lot of hype around this team coming into this year because of the fact that they returned a bunch of talented players on the defensive side of the football. In particular, when you look at Andre Sisco, a guy who had 7 interceptions a year ago, when you look at Alton Robinson and Kendall Coleman, double-digit sack guys a year ago, there were a lot of big expectations and a lot of excitement around this program. So for them, this is huge from a confidence standpoint. Yep. You don't want to be the program that goes from 10 wins to missing a bowl game. So Syracuse and Duke as well. It's important for both of these schools, but from a Syracuse standpoint, the year that they're coming off of, it's huge.
All right, 14-0 Orange. We've got a break here in the final minute of the first period. We'll continue from Durham in a moment. Duke, as you see them get Casey Holman placed on the stretcher here, and they will help him from the field in just a moment. The other element facing David Cutcliffe, and you mentioned this with Quentin Harris. Daniel Jones, about midway through last year, started to emerge as a guy who was a potential first-round pick in the National Football League and ended up being a first-round pick for the New York Giants. Quentin Harris came here and won the ball game a year ago at Baylor and did some other really good things for Duke. He was given the keys essentially by Zach Roper in this offense this year too, and it's been a process, an ongoing process with a combination of different things for Harris to consider.
Yeah, a lot of new receivers, a lot of new people playing, as you see the entire Duke team gather around their teammate to try and give their support to Casey Holman, who is on the stretcher in the middle of that. But you're exactly right, Wes. Quentin Harris getting this job is one that I'm not sure a couple years ago people really expected.
Yep.
I mean, you expected Daniel Jones to finish out his career, his eligibility at Duke, but when a guy's a projected first-round pick, you got to go. So Quentin Harris gets the job, and as you said, it's been up and down. And this Duke team is going to have to climb back into this one, and certainly giving their best wishes and prayers to Casey Holman.
Yep, as do we. Casey Holman injured in a collision with Rakevius Chambers. And you see the folks here have done everything possible to ensure Holman's safety. we will get back to football here in just a moment and pass along any information we can on Hope. Let's go to the studio. Check in on the rest of the day in the ACC.
Yeah, Wes, football always has a tough time of seeming important right now, but we want to update you on this Clemson game. Clemson-Wake Forest, Travis Etienne up the middle, 14-yard touchdown. So at this point, he needs one more to go and get that James Conner touchdown record. Back over to you, Wes.
All right. Thanks, Jack. Look forward to hearing from you guys at the half with EJ and Eric and the coach. Here's Austin Parker to punt. Duke's third possession ends on 7 snaps. Sean Riley waits. And he just flips it over. And the Blue Devils will down it in the neighborhood of the 13-yard line. So that's where the Orange will start. So far, so good for Tommy DeVito and Syracuse. A touchdown run for DeVito and a TD pass to Tristan Jackson.
The big question is for this Duke defense, what's the adjustment? This is a defense that's come up and challenged everybody over the course of the season. The secondary has played a lot of man-to-man, and they've been exposed a little bit early in this football game with the skill position of Syracuse making some plays.
First look at Abdul Adams as the running back with Tommy DeVito. You see the Rhino, Chris Elmore's almost like an H-back. DeVito on a play fake and now throws to Harris, who cannot hang on to it. A flag is thrown in from deep in the secondary. The hit made by Leonard Johnson on Taj Harris. And let's see what we have here. You see the back judge, Jacques Hooper, talking to Jeff Heeser.
Holding, offense, number 1. Penalties decline. Second down.
Perimeter hold on Sean Riley.
With only 36 seconds to go in this first quarter, there's been a steady dose of wind. Syracuse has been downwind, which has assisted in some of their downfield throws. They might want to take a shot down the field in these next couple plays while they still have the wind.
Here is Abdul Adams, and he'll push it to the 19. So third and about 4.5 to go. Trey Hornbuckle to stop.
You played your career in Buffalo at some place that has a lot of wind.
Speaking of wind, Eric.
Yeah, no kidding. What's that do for a quarterback?
You know, it can really affect the quarterback. In the cold conditions, that ball gets a little bit slicker. Now, Tommy DeVito, he is from New Jersey. Don Bosco Prep, great high school up there. He is used to these conditions.
Here is DeVito looking to throw. Blue Devils turn up the heat and sack DeVito back around the 12-yard line. And that will be the final play of the first period. Shaka Hayward and Chris Rump, two names Duke fans are excited about for the future, Roddy.
They certainly are. Two guys with tremendous talent, able to bring down Tommy DeVito for a big third down stop.
Blackwell's on the shelf today, so Scott Bracey will wait on the punt of Sterling Hoffrichter, who's one of the best punters in the country, but this is directly into the wind. Kind of a different challenge. Look at this thing. Into the wind, Roddy. Back to the 40 goes Bracey for the fair catch. That is a really good punt.
Absolutely.
All right, time for today's Aflac trivia question. This year, Duke produced the #1 overall selection in the NBA draft, young man named Williamson, and a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, Daniel Jones. Prior to that, what was the last school to do so?
Wow. #1 overall pick in basketball, top 10 pick in the NFL.
Was it Oklahoma, Blake Griffin, and Sam Bradford
would have been around that time.
It would have been a no for Eric Wood. First down give is Mateo Durant. Does Roddy Jones from Atlanta care to offer a guess?
Well, the easy thing is to you got to go down the #1 overall picks and the ones that have come from football type schools. I'm going to go more recent than Oklahoma. You're going to have to give me a second, though.
Second down and 10. I'll give you a couple snaps here.
I appreciate it.
No help from our statistician Richard Simmons, or our spotter Eric Fiddleman, however, is allowed. Here's Mateo Durant. He'll get 5 yards. Third and a long 5 coming up for the Blue Devils.
I'm gonna say Geez, I don't know. Ohio State?
That's a really good guess. And that was 2007 with Greg Oden and Ted Ginn.
Which would have been, that would have been after, or before, it would have been before Oklahoma.
Believe it or not, it's only happened 4 times. Here is Durant, knocked out of bounds. That's a first down for the Blue Devils. Nice blocking by Jacob Monk here on the perimeter. Look at big 63.
It's just a pitch, and yeah, the big lineman getting out in front. You don't have to get much on these DBs. Just a little bit throws them off and allows the running back to get around. Gotta love the lineman pulling around, getting a big block. Jacob Monk.
5-star.
5-star. Gotta love it, man.
Blue Devils fresh set it down, Syracuse territory.
And this is the flex bone set, Wes.
Yep.
So Paul Johnson made this famous at Navy and Georgia Tech.
Dive for Deion Jackson, only a couple here. Take you back to your playing days a little bit here, Roddy?
A little bit, you know. Paul Johnson leaves the league, and Dave Cutcliffe breaks it out. It simplifies the defense and lets these offensive linemen get in a different stance, different mentality, going straight ahead, run blocking a lot more aggressively than what teams typically do, and they're jumping in again here.
All right, so the A-backs, and that's Durant in motion, and he'll get the toss. Rides to the perimeter and picks up a couple to the 40. We asked Steve Stannard, the interim defensive coordinator, about playing this, and his last DC operation was at Wyoming, where Air Force is in that Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, and this Duke team went back to those Wyoming days to look at what Steve Stannard did. And one of the things that it does for this offense, or another thing that it does for this offense, is simplifies what the defense can do. There's only a certain number of ways a defense can play this type of formation.
3 steps, Harris the quick throw, and a first down to Aaron Young. He got helped out of bounds across the way by Antoine Cordy.
It's always going to create one-on-one matchups on the outside, and it's just a little 5-yard hitch from Aaron Young right at the sticks. He's able to power forward for even more. If I'm Duke, I'm staying in this. You're getting positive yardage. You've got a good feel for what Syracuse is going to do.
Are you neutralizing the front here by going to something like this spread look?
Well, you're making it simple. You know where they're going to line up. This Syracuse defense is only prepared a little bit for it.
Harris trying to throw from it and almost picked by Trill Williams. Looking for Aaron Young, and I don't know that we've seen Quentin Harris throw from this much.
We have not, and Trill Williams does a good job of just sitting on the route there. Almost picks that thing off and goes the other way, and it looked like that was a play that Quentin Harris fakes to one side, comes back to the other. Looked like he was going to run for a second and had to throw that quickly because there was pressure in his face.
Second in the full 10 for Duke now. See Durant on the orbit. Here comes Harris, and he'll keep it for no gain. Well played. Kendall Coleman, the defensive end, stayed home here.
Well, not only did that happen, but Lakeem Williams shoots through, and Duke fans may be asking, why doesn't he pitch that? Well, that's not the pitch man. The pitch man was number 42, Tyrell Richards on the outside. You can't pitch off of the linebacker. Had he done that, he'd have gotten his running back blown up. A really good play by the Syracuse defense.
Ronnie, you've been waiting all year to comment on option football, and I'm just sitting down here soaking it all in. I'm loving it, brother.
Here's Harris, tried to gun it through the middle, looking for Bracey, and it got broken up by Richards, who Roddy mentioned a moment ago. Got in space that time. He backed up into the middle of the field.
He certainly did. He's that linebacker right there on the left, just reads the eyes of Quentin Harris. He's able to get a hand on it, and Harris putting the ball in danger a couple of times on that drive. Looks like Duke's going to attempt a long field goal here.
So here is A.J. Reed. Now he's got the win with him, and now we had 12 in the huddle on the Blue Devils, I think.
Illegal substitution, offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Well, you got the wind. And down 14-0. David Cutcliffe's offense has sputtered in recent weeks.
It seems like they've sputtered in this game right at about this point at every single drive. They've driven down into plus territory, into Syracuse territory each time.
So here's Parker to punt. So a missed field goal and now 3 straight punts for the Blue Devils.
And that illegal substitution, that'll drive Coach Cutcliffe nuts. Coaches hate taking points off the board like that.
Flip it over inside the 10, and well done. That is touched up inside the Purple Dogs of the Northwest.
There you go.
The Washington Huskies in 2017. Markel Fultz, #1 to Philadelphia. John Ross was 9th to the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's Tommy DeVito and Duke from deep in their own territory at the 4, and Abdul Adams a yard.
Prior to Washington, it happened 3 other times in the common draft era of the NFL. 2007, Ohio State, Greg Oden and Ted Ginn. 2005, Utah, Andrew Bogut and Alex Smith, both #1 overall.
Wow.
And then going back prior to that, 1974, UCLA, probably only Wes knew this one, Bill Walton and Bill Sandefur.
I would have guessed all night on Bill Sandefur.
I would have never arrived there. I don't feel so bad. I don't feel so bad going to Ohio State first. That's my first guess.
You don't?
Markel Fultz is kind of a forgotten #1 overall pick.
True. Very true. I thought you were going down a road of LSU, which would not have been a bad idea with Ben Simmons.
Jamal Adams would have been around that time too. And
yeah.
Syracuse under center right now.
On 3rd and 8,
They're checking with the sideline. They're going to move back to the shotgun. Aaron Hackett, the tight end, is down here to the bottom of the screen all by himself. He's got one-on-one right there.
Hackett does not release. DeVito going to lob one down the field for Taj Harris, who tried to come back and make a play against Michael Carter. A very soft 3 and out for the Orange.
Well, it's a fantastic job by Michael Carter, who's been thrust into this corner role with the injury to Josh Blackwell. That's what you call being in phase. You're right in the hip of the receiver, so even when he tries to stop and come back, he has to do it late, not able to make the play. Syracuse went max protection, kept Hackett in so they could get that throw off. Great job by this Duke defense of playing it well.
Taj Harris, by the way, and the Orange are 0 for 3 on 3rd down. Duke has 2 guys back here in punt return, and Hofrichter hangs this one up in the air, and it hit a Blue Devil going out of bounds around the 37-yard line. That one got caught in the gust. 14-0, but good field position for Duke.
You see the play on the quarterback run, a great break by Evan Foster. They've been able to create pressure on Quentin Harris, and then coming up big on 3rd downs. They've given up some yardage, but able to come up with stops consistently. Duke missed a field goal on their first drive, and then 3 straight punts. Duke has been able to drive into Syracuse territory on every single drive, but it seems like once they cross midfield, it's been all Syracuse defense. Here they start inside of the Syracuse 40, so we'll see if they're able to get something going.
Best starting spot of the day for the Blue Devils, who find themselves with just 141 yards of offense and only 41 on the ground for Quentin Harris's club. Quick throw the perimeter and a big hit on Calhoun. And that was Antoine Cordy.
Antoine Cordy just reads this from the very beginning. Watch, triggers right away, and I don't know if there was a miscommunication, if Noah Gray was supposed to drop that. It looks like Noah Gray was saying, no, you're supposed to throw that to me if he breaks. Either way, wrong read by Duke.
Harris trying to fight it back. Bobo on a slant. First down for the Blue Devils to the 24 of Syracuse. Trill Williams in coverage. Boy, nice to have Jake Bobo at 6'4" available today for Cutcliffe's group.
Another big body, experienced player, a guy who played a year ago for him. But that big body, 6'4", helps you throw into those tight windows and know that he's going to come down with it.
Here's Harris, and he's just going to throw this away.
Wes, I'm not sure that's not grounding. I mean,
well, he got out of the box.
He's out of the box, yeah. You are correct, but with nobody in the area, I wasn't sure he quite got far enough, but you're right. He did get out of the box far enough, past the line of scrimmage, so that's fine. Wise play. That one looked a little weird downfield. There was no receiver anywhere around on the side where he was going to.
Inside, Deion Jackson sliding through. It's about 8 on the play to the 17. Evan Foster. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Evan Foster had a tough day trying to get Dillon and Bailey to the turf in the dome, and that's the idea here. Now you got to get Deion Jackson stopped, keep Duke's offensive momentum curve, but now Jackson pushes through. Lakeem Williams holds him up, and now David Cutcliffe may have a decision to make. You're down 14-0, about 8 minutes to go, and it's going to be 4th and a yard here.
If I'm Coach Cut, I'm going for it on 4th down here, and it looks like he's leaving the offense on to go for it. And not because you don't have faith in your special teams, you'd be kicking with the wind, so you feel good about that. But just from a confidence standpoint from your offense, can you get half a yard, which it looks like is what they need?
Syracuse has got a ton of guys up front. Quick hit, Deion Jackson. He broke the plane of the 15, and that should be enough if they mark the 14-yard line, but let's see.
I'm standing right on the line, and he definitely got it.
Okay. We always like to say the yellow line is unofficial. We can throw Eric Wood into that statement as well.
I don't know. The referees agreed with Eric. He might be official.
Yeah, well, if they come over and talk to Eric, he will make it official, I promise you. Here's a quick toss. Well played by the Orange, but they couldn't get him on the ground. In the backfield, Christopher Frederick had Jackson dead to rights here, Roddy. But you got to wrap it up.
Watch Christopher Frederick at the bottom of your screen. He's pressed up at the bottom, is going to trigger. This is a corner blitz all the way. Duke throws the pitch right into it. Doesn't quite make the play, but he throws him off enough for the defense to be able to rally. Duke is fortunate because that can go for a lot worse. I've been on the wrong end of some of those corner fires, the pitch coming to you, and that can be very painful. Luckily for Duke, able to minimize the damage.
Harris wants to throw inside route and off the pads of Young, and I think Frederick was right there again defensively.
I can tell you guys from being down here on the field level that this is the most spirited this Syracuse defense has been all year. And oftentimes a change in coordinator, a change in leadership can affect that. And Dino Baver said this week, they are not reinventing the wheel on defense. They are not changing completely. They just need to be way tighter in their fundamentals and play with a lot more effort.
It looks like it's man-to-man, and if I'm putting Harris, I'm looking at Noah Gray right there.
Here's Harris going to Gray, and he will turn it inside, and it's going to be 3rd and about 9. Cisco right there defensively for the Orange. The freshman All-America a year ago with 7 picks. Does not have one this year, by the way, Andre Cisco. Uh-oh. And Noah Gray is shaken up. And that would be a big loss for the Blue Devils.
Looks like he's favoring that left arm, as you can see.
Yeah, that left arm is dangling as he comes off the field, likely some type of shoulder injury.
Let's watch the tackle and see if we can see anything. It's a good catch up in the air.
Does he land on it?
Oh, yeah. Oof. It's going to force a field goal attempt for Duke.
Yep. Here is Reed, who missed earlier from 49. This is 31. Remember, he's missed 2 in a row if you go back to last Saturday night. This one is good. Blue Devils on the board. Just ahead of 6 minutes to go. 14-3 on. Well, Duke on the board with A.J. Reed's 31-yard field goal. Orange in front, though. 14-3 as we rejoin you. Second quarter action from Wallace Wade Stadium. Syracuse, their last 2 drives, only 6 yards, Roddy and Eric, after 154 yards in their first 2 drives. And even the guys from Central New York got to get around the heater a little bit here tonight.
Well, let's remember, they play indoors, Wes.
Okay.
This is colder temps than they play in, so can't be mad at those guys standing in front of the heater.
You're also showing the specialists right now, and those guys do not get a whole lot of action, so you can't blame those guys. Syracuse actually got the heated benches over on their side. Duke opting for the old school metal benches on their side.
I noticed that we never see centers around the heaters.
Not until they become sideline analysts.
Here's Sean Riley, and boy, what a good play. Open field stop by the Blue Devils. Orange starts inside. They're on 20. Let's go to the studio and Jack Collinsworth.
Never want to distract from a great special team play, but this is our Dr. Pepper Fansville update. It is Virginia Tech's Caleb Farley. 17-yard interception return for the touchdown. 31-zip. Tech leads.
Justin Fuente's team is emerging as a second-half favorite in the Coastal Division. And laying the wood in Atlanta this afternoon. Here is Harris on the reverse, and he'll pick up the first down up near the 30-31 yard line.
A little bit of trickery to start this drive from Syracuse. You mentioned the fact only 6 yards the last 2 drives. So why not start out with a little bit of a reverse, take advantage of the aggression from this Duke team.
Get 15 there. All of a sudden, here's Mo Neal back on the attack. And Neal slides upfield for about 5 on first down.
Through the first 2 drives of this game, Mo Neal had 5 rushes and 80 yards, ton of production. But the way Syracuse does it, they rotate every 2 series. So he is back in the game for this series. We'll see if he can keep up that pace.
Well, not a lot there, so third down coming up. Edgar Serenord, first guy there for the Blue Devils. Big 92, 5th-year senior from Miami, who was lost a year ago in Atlanta to an injury at Georgia Tech. What do you like here for the Orange?
We got a little bit of a stack right here, so I would expect some sort of rub, maybe an out route for the Orange.
They're 0 for 3 on third down. Long throw to the far side, and the catch is made. That's Nakeem Johnson. And I think it will be enough for the first down against Dylan Singleton. And there's the first third down conversion for Syracuse in the half.
So Syracuse went to that rub side, 2 guys running him off. Nakeem Johnson motions across the formation, just a little flat route. He's able to convert.
Another reverse. Harris wants the throw. DeVito the catch on the backside, and Tommy stepped out of bounds at the 46. If he doesn't shuffle his feet, Tommy DeVito might pick up 20 here.
He might. How about it? It's the same play that they just ran. This time, Taj Harris throwing a little back shoulder. At least he'll tell the coaches it was back shoulder. And yeah, that fine. Nice little move by the quarterback out there in space.
Hey, that move was sweet now.
Here's Neal again on second down. Going to leave the Orange third and about 5 as we come up on 4 minutes to play in this first half.
Syracuse came into the game today giving up 45 sacks on the year, only 1 so far through the first half. The offensive line, with the switches they've made coming off the bye week, has looked much better tonight.
Play fake by Tommy DeVito. Deep shot and almost hauled in by Jackson.
Wes, it looked like a one-man route. Tristan Jackson was the only player down the field and almost comes up with a great one-handed catch. Ends up hitting off of his hands. It's good coverage by Duke. Got to give a shout out to number 33, Leonard Johnson, doing a really good job making that a tough catch, a tough throw as well. It's impressive by Tommy DeVito to put it somewhere to give his receiver a shot.
4th and 5 for Sterling Hofrichter. You see the details of his day so far. Now he's battling the wind. There's the snap and the punt. Just hangs it high into the wind. It will bounce around the 22-23, and Armstrong, the linebacker, will touch it up. Breaking the action at Wallace Wade Stadium. Coach, waiting in our ACC Network studios. Clemson is cruising against Wake Forest. They'll showcase Louisville and NC State still to come tonight from Raleigh. And ACC Network Primetime presented by Geico, plus stats and highlights from our game, and a look in Atlanta. And also at Tallahassee, where Odell Hagen's got Florida State bowl eligible today.
For an Odell.
Mateo Durant in the backfield. Harris backing up and will throw it away under pressure. And that was Lakeem Williams that followed him all the way across the field.
There was pressure right up the middle again, Wes. The center of this defense has really struggled. That time it looked like Drew Tauzama getting up the middle to create the pressure, and Quentin Harris has not had time on these straight dropbacks to find anybody down the field.
Second down and 10. Quick throw by Harris, and Bracey. Did he make the catch? A flag has come in. Bracey is down on the play. A marker has come in, and Scott Bracey is injured.
Second time we've seen a Duke player down in this situation where you're concerned about some sort of head or neck injury. The way that happened, the flag came in, and it looked like we were going to get a targeting call potentially.
Result of the play is a completed catch. Personal foul. Defense number 7, targeting. The play is under further review.
Andre Cisco is the player who's been penalized here. I'd like to see another angle here. It's hard to tell exactly where the contact occurred.
Yeah, it was, and Cisco's back was to us, so from our vantage point, we couldn't really see it. We're gonna get a look at it here. So Bracy makes the catch. Cisco does catch him up high with the forearm. Kind of hits him in the chin. And Wes, I don't think this targeting is going to be confirmed. From the looks that we have seen, you need an indicator of targeting, and that's an attack with forcible contact via a launch, a thrust from a crouching position, lowering of the head, or leading with the helmet, forearm, or shoulder. And although the forearm hit, I don't think there was an attack with forcible contact in that at all.
Here's the other piece, too. I'm not sure the ball's caught.
So you see him going down. He's just trying to make a tackle there. There's no attack in that. So
and then the ball popped loose right there. You see the back end of the football.
Correct, yeah.
Rest on the ground.
You are correct, absolutely. So what I would anticipate that we get out of this is a overturned call on the targeting and also an overturned call on the catch as well, because that's something that is being reviewed
Kind
as
of
well.
a double whammy for Duke, by the way, in terms of, yeah, you see the ball is jarred loose. Now the arm with Cisco, it's hard to tell if there's any contact made with the head or neck area.
But even so, it has to be an attack, and I don't think a guy having his arm out is an
After further
attack.
review, the receiver did not make the catch, therefore it is an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd down and 10. There is no foul for targeting against number 7.
There you go.
And that's the right call. There's no attack there.
Right.
There was contact, looked like to the chin area of Scott Bracy, but there wasn't any sort of attacking manner. Cisco's just trying to secure the tackle, maybe punch the ball out. And it sets Duke up with a 3rd and 10. Got 2 safeties deep for Duke, or for Syracuse. Noah Gray in the slot to the bottom.
Harris in trouble, sacked. Back inside the 20 at the 19, Kendall Coleman.
Jalen Miller, the left tackle who replaced the injured Casey Holman, beat immediately by the senior Kendall Coleman, who's been extremely effective today. Dino Baver said he spoke to the leaders on defense after he had to get rid of Brian Ward, and Kendall Coleman is one of those leaders, and he is playing with his hair on fire tonight.
Boy, sure is.
And we were talking about it. A lot of times when you get these changes, it's a simplification for the guys that need to be playmakers, and it looks like Steve Standard has said, Alton Robinson, Kendall Coleman, go make plays today, and they have.
Flag thrown in on the play. By the way, 3rd sack for the Orange, 2nd for Coleman.
Offense number 27, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Duke came into the game, only have given up 13 sacks total on the year, and like you mentioned, Wes, 3 already given up tonight.
Yep. Late in this first half, and Blue Devils have to punt with Austin Parker. Riley waits. Boy, he gets driven all the way back inside the 15. Here's Riley, and Duke does a really good job. Sometimes you can outkick your punt coverage. Blue Devils recovered nicely there. So with 2:23 to go, the Orange gets a chance maybe to add before the break. Don't forget Sunday, November 24th, #1 women's basketball team in the country and the #4 men's team Take to the air on ACC Network. Top-ranked Oregon squares off with Coach Hillsman and the number 20 Orange at 4 o'clock. And then number 4 Louisville hosts Akron. Both games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. And the best women's basketball player in the country, Sabrina Ionescu of Oregon. 18 triple-doubles.
Sabrina Ionescu led this Oregon team to a win over Team USA, the national team. How's a college team supposed to beat them? The national team can. It's incredible.
By the way, Austin Parker went 72 yards on the punt. It's career best. If this were a sprint, it would be a wind-aided punt, but nonetheless.
I don't think they marked that down in the scorebook. Wind-aided.
It's not wind-aided. It's just a straight record.
Those viewing at home, pay attention to number 96, Chris Rumph. He's moving around at linebacker level, but he is a defensive end. He will be hitting the snap. Last week against Notre Dame, he made a number of plays in the backfield, and he consistently makes offensive linemen look silly. He has a big arm over move, similar to what J.J. Watt does to offensive linemen in the NFL.
Well, he's had a fantastic season for defense coordinator Matt Guerrieri. That time Rumph got a right around DeVito. Ball down the field is caught. Tristan Jackson, is it inbounds? No, out of bounds. Boy, Tommy DeVito cut it loose right before Rumph got there, too.
Well, this is an excellent throw with Rumph in his lap, and Jackson makes the play, but he's driven out of bounds. That's a heady play by the defensive back, Jeremiah Lewis. Able to drive Tristan Jackson out of bounds while he's up, but look at Chris Rumph. That's that arm over move that Eric was talking about. Able to get into the backfield, and he's a star, man. A star in the making. Has not had a big impact on this game, but may on this third down as well. There he is.
Inside for Neal, nowhere. And that time Kwanzaa wrapped him up.
Kwanzaa wrapped him up, but Rumph again with the penetration.
Timeout. Duke, their second. 30 seconds.
In talking with defensive coordinator Matt Guerrieri, they will move Rumph around before the snap. They want to get him matchups. I thought coming into the game that they would match him up on tackles. There you see him working against the right tackle for Syracuse, gets penetration, and that completely disrupts the Syracuse run play, and he is extremely excited on the sideline, and rightfully so. He has not got a lot of action early in this game, and by his demeanor right now, I think he's saying, get me in the game a little bit more, Coach. I'm ready to go. There you go.
3 and out in 3 of the last 4 possessions by the Orange offense. The son of an outstanding player at South Carolina.
Yeah, outstanding coach as well.
Yep, now at Tennessee with Jeremy Pruitt. Miles Hudzik is deep for the punt of Sterling Hoffrichter. Again, it gets batted down by the wind. Well, you got to be careful it doesn't hit somebody, right?
Absolutely.
That time, Aaron Belinsky, the center, was the guy who was able to scoop it up after the bounce. 1:20 to go. Don't forget the huddle next Friday night at 8, next Saturday at 11. Jack Collinsworth, Eric McLean, EJ Manuel, Mark Rick get you ready for ACC football week number 13. They'll preview the weekend slate of games and also showcase next Thursday night's ESPN broadcast of NC State and Georgia Tech from Atlanta. The Huddle. It's our signature football show right here on ACC Network.
Well, one thing that the Huddle will like is the way that these special teams have played out. You want to see what the wind did. Duke had a 72-yard punt, pinning Syracuse back deep, and now great field position after a 3 and out.
Noah Gray shaken up earlier, makes the catch and gets to the midfield stripe with 75 seconds to go in this first half. Well, Duke had some moments. A couple of drives have resulted in field goal tries, but the Blue Devils, who only had a touchdown last week, don't have much else to show on that side of the ball here tonight through almost 30 minutes of play, Roddy.
They haven't, and they're going to need a play made down the field at some point.
Right.
I mean, they have not created any explosives. They've had to kind of dink and dunk their way down the field, and it hasn't been working consistently. 3rd
down for Harris, trying to go to Bobo and almost threw it away to Melifonwu. He was the closest guy on a ball intended for Bobo.
Well, it's just a complete miss by Quentin Harris. This ball's got to be on the outside or on the back shoulder, and he throws it inside. And Melifonwu, actually, Jake Bobo does a pretty good job of keeping Melifonwu's arm down so that he only has one arm to try and make the interception, and Duke is lined up to go for it.
Yep. 4th down and 5. Here's Harris. Back across the middle. Gray to catch. And down to the 33-yard line. And another Duke first down with 46 seconds left. Blue Devils right to the football.
Noah Gray just releases up the seam, and a good find by Quentin Harris. Duke goes fast on that 4th down and caught Syracuse in the wrong defense.
Blue Devils have 1 timeout remaining. Harris tried to go to Calhoun on the long throw to the perimeter, and Antoine Cordy was there. So it'll be 2nd down and 10. And the clock stopped, as you see, with 37 seconds left.
On that 3rd down conversion, Syracuse ran a cross-dog blitz, blitzing both the middle linebackers, which avoided the middle of the defense. Great read by Quentin Harris to deliver the ball to Noah Gray there.
Harris hit as he throws and misfires for Bobo. And that time Kendall Coleman peeled around the left side of Duke's offensive front to get to Harris.
And although Duke hasn't really taken any shots downfield, I'm not sure that they've had time. Every time Quentin Harris hasn't had his first read open, there's been a ton of pressure in his face.
Blue Devils have missed their last 5 3rd down tries. This is 3rd and full 10. And that's a misfire for Bobo again.
And this was something that stood out at times from Quentin Harris, the accuracy portion. This is an easy pitch and catch. Jake Bobo's in a seam. There's a wide open hole there. Jake Bobo sitting right there on a curl. 10 yards. You got to hit him right between the numbers. That one, you're not even on the frame of his body. Bobo not able to make the catch, and it stalls a drive and sets up a long field goal attempt.
Yep, 51 yards for A.J. Reed would be the longest of the season. And Dino Babers takes a timeout.
Now this field goal attempt is going to be with the wind, and in warm-ups we saw field goal kickers have some success going this way because of the wind behind them. The thing is controlling it. Can you control it, keep it between the uprights when you have this long a field goal?
Well, don't forget, more college football coming your way tonight on ACC Network. We'll send you down I-40 apiece to the North Carolina State Fairgrounds and Carter Finley Stadium, where NC State welcomes Louisville. The Cards tonight, Eric Wood, play for bowl eligibility against the Wolfpack. Dave O'Brien, Tim Hasselbeck, Katie George standing by at Carter Finley tonight, 7:30, ACC Primetime Football presented by Geico.
Would be an absolutely incredible coaching job by Scott Satterfield this year, getting them the bowl eligibility.
Off the timeout, 51 yards from Reed is away, and it is perfect. A career best for A.J. Reed.
Wes, I'm not sure he could have kicked this thing any straighter or any more in the middle of the uprights. Absolutely drills this one. Uses the wind to his advantage, and it is right down Main Street.
8 plays, 19 yards in less than a minute, and the 51-yard field goal, a career best for Reed.
And Wes, that's made by the special teams. I mean, you get a 72-yard punt from your punter. Your defense gets a 3 and out. Because of the wind, Syracuse has a decent punt, not a great one, but you get great field position, and you only need 19 yards from the offense in a 2-minute situation to get a field goal. Dave Cutcliffe loves to talk about the hidden yardage, and that's special teams, being able to cover punts, being able to punt the football, being able to make these field goals. He would be very proud. He is very proud of what his special teams was able to do there to create that score.
Tell you what, when you start looking at A.J. Reed kicking a 51-yarder, you and I and Eric have seen Sterling Hofrichter inside the dome in Central New York bang 55 and 60-yard field goals with ease. Downwind tonight here at Wallace Wade, kicking to the open end of the horseshoe. Sterling Hofrichter might want to jump on in here. Here is Riley, juggles it. Now Sean Riley back to his feet, and he'll be taken down at the 18-yard line with 17 seconds to go. And you see the 2 early scores, 13 combined plays, 154 yards, and since then, Roddy, a lot of 3 and outs. In fact, 3 of their next 4.
Yeah, and 33 total yards after that, including a negative 1-yard drive. And so this Duke team has really settled down. They've played better in one-on-one situations down the field, made some adjustments in the secondary. And it's been a really nice transformation by this by this Duke defense, able to hold up late in the half.
That's a game play clock to 25.
So they're going to put 8 seconds back on the clock. Here, in fact, Syracuse just going to take the knee, and the Orange will have the ball and an 8-point lead when we get to the second half. Well, 2 quick touchdown drives start the day for Dino Babers' team. Trying to snap a 4-game skid. They've lost 6 of their last 8. We've got to be pleased with at least the early stages here today at Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham. Meanwhile, David Cutcliffe's team can only scratch out a couple of field goals as Coach Babers is with Aaron.
Coach, your defense starts off this half great, only giving up 6 points. What do you credit that to?
Well, I think they're really giving a fantastic effort. I think the plan is good, and we need to keep on playing. Unfortunately, we had that ball down here in offense. We couldn't push it out enough. That field goes on us. And then that last kick, the young man had the wind behind him. That was a heck of a kick.
The offense starts out with 2 great drives and then kind of sputtered as the half went on. What do you need to get back to offensively?
They made some adjustments. We need to go into halftime and make some adjustments. If they're going to play some of the defenses they've been playing, then we need to do some different things.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much.
All right. Dino Babers with Eric Wood. Stay tuned. Jack Collinsworth, Eric McLean, E.J. Manuel, and a purple jacket Mark Richt in the State Farm halftime report next.
It was Tommy DeVito to Tristan Jackson for a touchdown. That was after a big play to Jackson on the play before. And then Tommy DeVito ran it in as well. 2 touchdowns early. Duke settled down, though, and it was on the Syracuse defense to be able to pick it up. They've confused this Duke offense, and Quentin Harris, you see Lakeem Williams with the big sack. But late in the half, Duke able to get a couple of field goals. This one a 51-yarder to bring their total in the first half to 6.
Career best for A.J. Reed. Orange is going to get the ball here to start the second half, Roddy. But I want to say it's on the Duke defense here, right?
It certainly is. They made some adjustments after those first couple of drives. Only 33 yards from the Syracuse offense after those initial 2.
There's the Orange trying to get something going, and Jawar Jordan returns it just past the 15-yard line. And let's check in with Eric Wood.
I talked to Coach Cutcliffe coming out the half about second half adjustments. He said offensively it's not what they're doing, it's how they're doing it. They need to hit open receivers. They can't sit back with 2 offensive linemen down and take sacks. Defensively, they need to dictate to the offense. They are a man defense team. They need to apply pressure to this Syracuse offense.
And the Orange average starting position has been their own 16.
Well, the guy that they really got going was Chris Rumpf on the defensive line. He's back in the game here.
They're going to hand it to Jordan. Jawar Jordan, the freshman. Or no, Abdul Adams, 23. Jordan, 25, had the kick return. You see the details of the first half of play. 36 total yards behind those 2 touchdown drives. And Duke, again, offense a little frustrated here in this opening 30 minutes of play tonight in Durham.
Well, it looks like Syracuse is going to have one-on-one coverage with no safety help with Taj Harris to the bottom of the screen right here, press coverage.
DeVito a play fake, and boy, DeVito got hit by Dimu Kages. He cut it loose, but it was nowhere in the neighborhood of Harris, who's communicating back to DeVito about what he was doing and what Tommy may have read. Look.
Well, Tommy DeVito thought he was going to continue to go up the field on that first move, and that's what coaches will tell you when you have the flexibility. Once you make the first plant, just go with it. See what Syracuse does here. Press coverage across the board. It looks like they're going to bring pressure. Chris Rumpf right there. Watch where he ends up and if he's able to disrupt in the backfield.
DeVito wants to throw. Steps up in the pocket and will finally be taken down at the line of scrimmage. Blue Devils got there with Drew Jordan, but I think the middle of it was the real issue.
Well, it was a bad snap, took Tommy DeVito's eyes down, and down the field there was really good coverage. Drew Jordan getting upfield, chasing back, but meeting him there, Victor Dimukeji as well. This Duke defense, I've absolutely loved being able to watch them on film in depth this week. They fly to the football, they play with a lot of passion, and the way they've settled down after those first couple of drives has been impressive.
Hudzik waits on Hoprichter's punt. And And Miles Hudzik does a good job with a stack of white shirts around him to fair catch that at the Blue Devil 42-yard line. So the defense holds up their end of the bargain, Roddy. They get the stop on the orange. Syracuse, by the way, 3 and out now in 4 of their last 5 possessions if you throw out the 2-play drive where they killed the clock at the end of the first half. And now back to Duke's offensive checkpoint. And Quentin Harris, a couple of field goals, but overall it's been a bit of a struggle here tonight.
Yeah, you got to get him going in some way. And if I'm Duke, I'm going back to some quarterback runs to see if you can get that going.
Speaking of, here's Harris. 3 to the 45 perhaps before Lakeem Williams makes the stop. The orange leading tackler coming in. Williams, the senior linebacker from out in the Pacific Northwest at Tacoma, Washington.
And what that quarterback run does for you is it takes the thought process out for your quarterback. You get him into the game, you get him a couple of hits, and it starts to get the blood flowing a little bit.
Quick throw inside, deflected and intercepted. Andre Cisco, first pick of the year, is a house call. Deflected by Cordy, and then Cisco goes 48 for the touchdown.
Wes, how many times today have we seen something like that happen on these short routes from Duke? These Syracuse defensive backs have challenged all of the slants and all the quick routes, and a couple of times we've seen the ball up in the air. This time it goes way up in the air, and Cisco is able to come down with it. But watch the play by Cordy. A good job getting his arm around. That ball goes up. I think it gets off Jake Bobo as well, but once Cisco gets it, it's 88 out the gate. Syracuse creates a turnover for a touchdown.
Andre Cisco's 8th career interception. Remember, he had a freshman All-America campaign a season ago with 7. He waits around to game 10 to come up with his first of the year. And he doubles down for the touchdown. Orange by 15. Up to the year, 10th of the career for Andre Cisco. Look at the numbers he's stacking up, Roddy.
Pretty impressive. Got him an All-American bid a year ago, and his ability to track the ball down. That one was put on a platter for him. I mean, I think he could have intercepted that one and taken it to the house.
I think so too.
Michael Carter, the return, slides across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Our food line, food for thought, is an area we talked about at the top today, guys.
Yeah, Dave Cutcliffe told us yesterday he wanted to be 60% on plays of 4 yards or more. So we wanted 60% of the plays that they run to go for 4 or more yards. Today, 32%. And although Syracuse is under that, they've been able to create explosive plays. You've seen explosive runs. Obviously, a pick 6 on defense counts as an explosive play as well, and also explosive plays in the pass game. And although it has not happened recently, the defense has been good enough where it hasn't mattered.
So the ball off the 26-yard line, and a quick throw to the perimeter, and this is Calhoun. Jalen Calhoun has had some moments during the course of this campaign for David Cutcliffe, freshman from Greenville, South Carolina.
Going back to the yards per play, over the last 3 weeks in this 3-game losing skid, Duke has averaged 3.5 yards per play. Over that span, that's the worst in college football. Today, 3.4, so even that number could even go down.
And Deion Jackson on the second down play will get it to about 3rd and 3. Andrew Armstrong will stop.
And the yards per play is not as much of a factor if you're able to create those explosives. Duke has the lethal combination of not being an explosive offense and not a consistent offense as well. So although here in 3rd and short, their ability to consistently drive down the field just hasn't been there today.
Harris on 3rd down. Tried to get it to Bobo, and that got picked. Christopher Frederick, another interception. Looked like it might have been deflected as well. And 2 picks for the Orange in back-to-back possessions.
It's the 4th game this season where Quentin Harris has thrown 2 interceptions. Turnovers have been a big issue, and you see this ball just behind Jake Bobo. It's not on the lead number. Frederick's able to get an arm in there and eventually intercept it, and we've got flags on the field as well.
Unsportsmanlike against the number 3. This is his first 15-yard penalty. First down.
So unsportsmanlike against Christopher Frederick, and that'll push it back beyond the 40 for the Orange possession.
And Wes, the other thing for this Duke offense is there's absolutely been zero threat of them throwing the ball down the field, particularly on these third and shorts. Syracuse is just sitting on these routes right at the stick, playing everything close. Eventually, you're going to have to try and hit them down the field, make them pay for it, or else there's no respect that Syracuse is going to have on defense for throwing the ball down the field or giving any sort of cushion to these receivers.
Jarvion Howard's the running back. 23rd turnover of the year by the Duke offense. And here's Howard trying to swing to the corner and gets banged out of bounds after a couple of yards by Dylan Singleton. We have not called Singleton's name much today, playing a valuable role in that 4-2-5 that Duke uses as their base, Roddy. And when you don't say his name much, that means they're neutralizing a guy who's got a lot of value to Duke's secondary.
Well, the fronts played well after those first couple of drives. Dylan Singleton's played a lot of football, but this set where they've got 3 down linemen and they let Chris Rumpf right here kind of roam around, he's going to insert either here or there and essentially turn it into a 4-man front. But knowing where it's going to happen is always a challenge for these defenses, and there's always the threat of pressure.
Bo Neal, hard drive to the 35. Kobe Kwanzaa, a stop for the Blue Devils. Kwanzaa, one of the tremendous players on this Duke roster from a football perspective, and one of the tremendous student athletes in all of college football.
Duke's got
his
a
150th season, you bet.
And when you talk about guys that do the right things on the field, in the community, and also in the classroom, Kobe Kwanzaa has been a fantastic example for this Duke team for his entire career.
You see the tackle numbers, 5th in the ACC. He's got 6 games or 5 games this year with 10 or more, including 13 in the win at Virginia Tech. DeVito, the throw, and on the perimeter is the tight end Luke Benson.
DeVito's pass is complete to number 87.
And that'll be a first down to the 29-yard line for Benson. And here's the Orange with a 15-point lead on the Cisco pick 6, and they are marching again after a second turnover on the interception by Christopher Frederick.
Back-to-back interceptions by this defense, and if it leads to back-to-back scores, that would be really a backbreaker for this Duke offense. It has not shown the ability to be explosive and come from behind, but this defense has been the strength. You see Chris Rumpf there. If he's able to create a negative play, and this is going to be a tough field goal if you're able to keep them around this range, although it is 1st and 10 here.
Inside, Neal slips to the perimeter and gets down to about the 23-yard line. Boy, Bo Neal, the senior from Gastonia, North Carolina, has come in here today and been very effective, approaching 100 yards on a dozen carries. He's 15th all-time in rushing at Syracuse, coming into today's game with almost 2,200 yards and now over that.
I can only imagine what it's like to come back home and play in your home state. I was a guy who stayed home, so I played in my home state all the time. But if you went away and came back, with fans in the stands, family, people that saw you play in high school, I can only imagine what those emotions are like.
Here's Neal again. It'll be 3rd and about 3 for the Orange.
Roddy, I'll tell you, when you get in the NFL and you return home, when I was playing at Buffalo, you go back to Cincinnati, I'll tell you what that becomes expensive. Expensive, a lot of tickets.
That's what that first round money
First round money. Got that first round money. You don't have it. It's not as expensive as it would be for a college free agent, though, is it, Ewood?
Yeah, you don't get a lot of remorse after the first round draft pick status. You don't get a lot of remorse from family and friends.
Yeah, you and E.J. Manuel didn't have that problem, though. See, that's the thing. Other guys deal with that, not you and Manuel.
I'll tell you what happens in college, though. You got to go around and beg your teammates for a lot of tickets.
The ticket bag is unbelievable. DeVito on 3rd down and a swing pass, and here is Benson for his 2nd touchdown of the year. 22 yards, and Tommy DeVito fired a seed to Luke Benson.
Well, every coach that we have talked to that's faced Tommy DeVito says, hey, if you let him get going, he's as good as any in the country. You get double slants on the outside from the receivers, brings the defensive backs in. Benson sneaks out into the flat. Tommy DeVito fires a strike. And how about the speed from Benson?
Yep.
Up the sideline. I mean, he took off a little bit. There was some acceleration there. It seems like it's going to be a backbreaker for Duke unless they're able to get something going, but good for Syracuse, capitalizing on 2 turnovers.
Flags down as Andre Smith's point is good. Remember, we saw Benson get his first touchdown of the year on a long throw against Holy Cross.
Offside. Defense number 33. That penalty's decline. Try is good.
So 2 interceptions and 2 touchdowns for the Orange. What a great start to the second half for Dino Babers' team. With 6 minutes gone in the frame, it's 28-6. Now 2 touchdowns today. One to Tristan Jackson, another one to Luke Benson. Deion Jackson is deep for Duke, and he will field this kick from Hofrichter. Jackson 25, 30, and flipped over at about the 33-yard line, and that's where Quentin Harris and Duke will get started. Don't forget, Sunday, November 24th, we've got a great basketball double dip for you. Number 1 Oregon at the Dome in Central New York to meet Syracuse, and then that'll be followed by Akron and number 4 Louisville, with Eric Wood probably courtside at the KFC Yum Center. Great double dip of basketball. Both games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app.
You think Jordan War is going to be the player of the year in the conference for Louisville?
Preseason player of the year and off to a fantastic start. Here is Harris on first down. Finally the bailout, Calhoun, or beg your pardon, it's Eli Pancole, number 6, who makes his first catch of the day out to the 37-yard line. You see the turnovers. Quentin Harris, it has been the Achilles of his season.
It certainly has, and this is the 4th game where he's thrown 2 interceptions this year, and it's really, there's been a litany of things that's plagued this Duke offense. Turnovers are right up there at the top, and he's not the only one that's contributed to it, but when you're the quarterback, you're the number 1 guy that's going to handle the football. As Manny Diaz likes to say at Miami, we snap you the match on every play, so don't burn the house down.
Duke has been 7.5 quarters with only 1 touchdown. And the ball popped loose. Is it considered live? And coming out of there with it is Antoine Cordy. Is that Cordy or Foster? It's Evan Foster. 9, not 8. And it is ruled a fumble. Roddy?
Let's see if this is out. That ball looks like it's coming out before the knee hits from Mateo Durant. So
Armstrong.
It's going to be the 3rd straight possession. We'll get a better look here.
Andrew Armstrong, the linebacker, he and Kingsley Jonathan combining to look like they rake it out, right?
Absolutely, and knee's not down. I think that ball's moving before the knee hits the ground. They'll certainly review it. If we hear nothing, then that means there's nothing to look at, and they agree with the call on the field.
The previous play is under further review.
If this stands, it will be the 3rd straight turnover in as many possessions for the Blue Devils.
This is a Duke team that had 3 turnovers against North Carolina, 5 against Virginia, 6 against Pittsburgh, 3 to start the year against Alabama. And we have talked about the turnovers, and there you see, it looks like the ball is sliding out there, knee on the ground. I think that ball's already moving out. And Wes, again, call on the field is fumble.
That's it.
I'm not sure there's enough there to overturn what was called on the field at the bare minimum. We get another look.
That's out.
Yeah, that's out.
That's out.
Yep. It's going to be confirmed. And I mean, we talked to David Cutcliffe yesterday, and you could tell how frustrated he was at the turnovers. I mean, you can certainly understand some of the struggles that they've had on the offensive side of the football, but the turnovers are something that are largely controllable by you, by securing the football properly, by making sure that you're making the right reads and putting your players in the best positions to make the right reads at quarterback. But once you put on film that you're a team that'll fumble the football, every defense from there on out is going to be raking at the football and trying to get it out at all times.
Well, Evan Foster picks up 1. We had a Christopher Frederick interception and an Andre Cisco pick 6. All 3 have occurred in the first, almost 8 minutes of this 3rd period.
Yeah,
And what looked to be a promising start for Duke because they were able to get Syracuse off the field. Now all of a sudden.
And the ball came out on the back end from Evan Foster, but it looked like he was clearly down. Let's see if this ball's moving. He's got it secured. Knees down, still in his possession. Yeah, no doubt about that.
The ruling on the field stands. First down.
And now this fumble by Durant is going to award the ball to Syracuse after the return by Foster at the Blue Devil 15-yard line. So Syracuse, who went 3 and out on their opening possession of the second half, and then 2 plays later, Harris threw the pick 6 to Siska. And the Reed field goal seems like that was a month ago now, I bet. Here's DeVito. And Mo Neal lowers the shoulder and drives inside the 10 to the 8. 7 yards on the hard run by Mo Neal.
Running it right up the middle, right behind Chris Elmore, the Rhino, who gets a good block. It's one-on-one on the safety, and Mo Neal matches the Rhino's physicality. And I like Marquise Waters' excitement coming out of there.
Yeah.
But that was a 7-yard gain, 8-yard gain.
By the way, Chris Elmore might be Eric Wood's favorite player in the ACC. Is that fair, Eric?
He is. I love the Rhino. He plays both ways. He's a big dude. Plays on the defensive line with the single digit, which automatically makes him a baller in my book. But he is incredible. See him there. Look at him lead through on that play. This is a guy that will do anything for the team. We spoke to him earlier the year before a game. He's got an unbelievable attitude. And when we saw him, he was back there returning kicks in pregame.
As if that was going to happen.
He's just extremely valuable for Syracuse in the number of roles that he's able to play.
You see him in the tight end slot here. He's going to pop up on the check with me, but they love to move. He's created some. He's been disruptive on the defensive side of the football today.
Yep.
Eric talked about the attitude. Eric asked him before, hey man, you like it that they're moving you over to the defensive side of the football? And he lit up. Yep. Absolutely loves it.
295 pounds from Chicago. Give is Neal. And it'll be first and goal for the Orange. Right around the 2-yard line. Let's go focus on Elmore here.
Goes. He's just gonna block out on one of the
Leonard
secondary, Leonard Johnson, the corner. And that's one of those where, as a defensive back, you see that coming. You don't want to be part of that. You keep your outside arm free, so you keep leverage, get a plus on the play. But he's not taking on 295 pounds.
I think he would not have also determined that in our visit with Chris Elmore, 295 is merely a suggestion. Not sure that's the rule. Hey, what a likable kid, though.
Hey, in the past year, me and Wes have both weighed over 295 pounds, so we both know what that looks like.
And there is Mo Neal for the touchdown. And Syracuse has taken 3 turnovers and cashed it in. All 3 of them, and now it's 34-6.
Well, this is a defense that's coming off giving up a ton of yardage against Notre Dame, and they've been put in adverse situations so far in this half. One, obviously the pick 6 is not on them, but the last 2 drives having their backs against the wall. And Syracuse offense, I think the credit needs to go to them, and this Syracuse team has really struggled being able to create some momentum in the second half, putting this game at a safe distance.
35-6, Mo Neal's 5th rushing score of the year. But make no mistake, number 5 turns Dimukeji out to make it a walk for the Orange. Turnovers and 3 touchdowns off those turnovers. There's a line shot kick by Hofrichter, and it dies in front of Michael Carter, and the safety back up the field across the 35 to the 36. Roddy, Eric, coming into today's ball game, Syracuse had only scored 55 points in the 3rd quarter. Today they have 21 in the 3rd quarter, and all off Duke turnovers.
Well, this defense has been sensational in the second half, creating the turnovers, making contested plays. This is a defense that gave up 9.21 yards per play the last time they were out. But a change in mentality, change in defensive coordinators got them playing hard.
Throw to the far side for Aaron Young. He's been very quiet since the flurry of throws early in the game. And Young hauls in a 14-yard throw. Steve Stannard, interim DC for the Orange. Here's Deion Jackson on a first down carry. Stannard, by the way, has an interesting background when you think about defensive football. And we were talking about this not only during the week, but also in some of our meetings here yesterday. I mean, it was with Craig Bowl at North Dakota State, obviously at Wyoming, Roddy. And his background is a Midwest, kind of a mountain, in the Rocky Mountain type history. But it also speaks to, and we've had this conversation during the course of our coverage this year, the amount of spread influence in the ACC now. Mobile quarterbacks, things like that. That's kind of the book he's been brought up by.
Yeah, and when we talked to him this week, he was incredibly complimentary of the job that Brian Ward did. And not only that, but he said he wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Brian Ward.
Right.
It's a very tough thing. You know, when you talk about these coaching changes, you forget that these coaches are basically family. I mean, they spend a lot of time together and they get to know each other over the years. But everyone in this profession understands, and Steve Stannard said it, it's sort of the next man up mentality, and he has got his defense playing simple, playing really hard, and challenging everything Duke is doing. I mean, look at all of the defensive backs across the board up close in press coverage.
Yep, 4th and short here. Harris from the pocket will be sacked. Alton Robinson.
Coming off the left side, matched up with Jacob Monk. Excuse me, the right side matched up against Jacob Monk. Just beats him. Quentin Harris is not able to find receiver before he can go back to the other side of the field. When he looks, he's greeted by the waiting arms of number 94, who is... Production has not been the same as it was a year ago. He's a guy that had double-digit sacks last year and just has not had that type of production this year, but you can see the relief him getting into the backfield there.
Abdul Adams will be the running back with Tommy DeVito. First down, and Adams to the right side. And he will peel off about 6 yards there. Trey Hornbuckle, the defensive end. There's Alton Robinson from Converse, Texas. One of the sack leaders a year ago in the ACC. But Roddy, to be honest with you, the way the season has gone, he and Coleman not been nearly as impactful as they were last fall.
And the big question that Syracuse had to be asking themselves over the course of the self-scout is why? And it's very possible that some of the mentality change of Steve Stannard has been, all right, let's simplify this defense. Let's let them play fast, be very simple, and let our talented guys take over. And Coleman and Robinson have been incredibly effective today.
Yep. Second down. DeVito trying to get Adams going. And he'll come up short. Eric, I thought you made an interesting point with Coach Babers and with Steve Stannard this week. You couldn't expect Syracuse to go through an entire overhaul of their defensive structure. And you used an analogy I thought was interesting. If you didn't put it in the spring or maybe even in August, it's not going to be a staple, right?
Absolutely. It's too tough to put in a new scheme altogether, and we used to call it being battle tested. If you put something in training camp, you've run it against your defense, you've run it in enough situations that you know all the ins and outs of it. You know where the play breaks down, where your weaknesses are with the defenses. So, and Dino Babers agree with that. They could not simply scrap everything they've done defensively this year. Now, we have seen some subtle changes, some different stuff on third downs. We've seen the defensive ends have a little bit more freedom in their rush, but you're right, Wes. They could not completely scrap their scheme coming into this game. That would not make any sense for them.
He's completely right. And you work so hard to do these things and you rep them over and over and over. These coaches are only going to be so comfortable with something that they didn't do. So I just like the fact that our Pro Bowl, our boy E. Wood.
Wait a second. Somebody's found the heater.
Our boy E. Wood positioned himself strategically in front of that big old heater.
Hey, I am in front of this heater here, but you know what I love? my man Corey over here, show the offensive line. Everybody else down here on Syracuse's sideline, heated benches. The offensive line, including Coach Mike Cavanaugh, sitting on the regular chairs. No heaters over there. Mike Cavanaugh, the offensive line coach, he doesn't even have a coat on. It is freezing down here. The wind is whipping. And this is coming from a guy who just played 9 years up in Buffalo. It is cold down here.
More self-promoting and scouting on E. Wood.
That's where I would be.
Yeah.
Right there with, the skill position guys. Heated benches. You got to stay warm on nights like that.
Look at that. Yeah, that's it.
It's a veteran move right there.
It's a completely veteran move.
I will say this is the best I've seen Syracuse's offensive line play the entire year. I don't know if it's the switches made from the center and left tackle. I do not know if it's them just getting more comfortable as a group, but they have played extremely well today.
They really have. Tommy DeVito's helped him. He's gotten the ball out quick some. The big thing is they've sorted out the different pressures that Duke has done. I mean, they moved the front around a lot, and they've been able to figure out and largely keep Tommy DeVito clean.
3 quarters chase the last 2 years, and you sit and visit with Quentin Harris for any length of time, and you understand why he's going to be successful when his playing career is over here at Duke and wherever else football might take him. And it was a real treat to spend about 30 minutes with him yesterday, just talking about football, but also talking about what he wants to do. And he was talking about leadership classes and things like that, and entrepreneurship and all sorts of different things. It's just a really, really engaging young man.
He's a guy that graduated in May with a degree in public policy studies, and he's currently in classes getting his master's in management studies. And you're absolutely right, Wes. I mean, this is Quentin Harris is all about what's good in college football.
Yep.
I mean, a guy that sat here for 4 years, waited his turn to be the starting quarterback. Has gotten that opportunity, but more importantly, he's taking care of everything off the field that he needs to at one of the best institutions in the world, Duke University.
Yep, and he's one of a handful of guys we've met in our travels through the ACC this year that you can see where the future of our country will be in pretty good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he wants to run it, I'd feel really good about him doing that.
I don't know what he's thinking about doing, but I'd sign up. Kick here by Parker, just kind of rolled over the top, and it will roll dead in Duke territory at the 45. Don't forget, this is game 1 of a doubleheader tonight on ACC Network. Still to come, just over the road a piece in Raleigh, Louisville and NC State, presented by Geico. Interesting to see what the Wolfpack and Cards have for us tonight under the lights at Carter Finley with Dave O'Brien, Tim Hasselbeck, and Katie George standing by.
It's going to be fun to watch, certainly. Both of these teams fighting for bowls. And Ewood's Cardinals have been really impressive at times, although they ran into a buzzsaw in Miami last week.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, there's going to be some points scored in that game tonight, too. Both those defenses have given up a lot of points in the past few weeks.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Eric. I'm going to be interested to see where NC State is offensively, Roddy. Yeah. With Devin Leary getting the ball, Bam Knight, feet back to 100%. The injuries have really, really derailed the Wolfpack on Roddy, both sides of the football.
Yeah, especially defensively, they have just been ravaged by injuries. But the inconsistent quarterback play, the running back injuries, which have been an issue in the past for NC State, really made it tough for them. And look, Louisville's going to make you play in space. They're going to make you play that wide zone play, and Javian Hawkins has been fantastic.
And a throw beyond the reach of the intended receiver on the backside, Tristan Jackson. Here is where the defense is, Roddy.
And Louisville last in the conference in points allowed. They've played some really high-scoring affairs, one of which they won against Wake Forest. So some of that's a little misleading, but the defense has struggled. I mean, there's no two ways about it. NC State, we talked about the injuries that they've had. I think at home, night games at Carter Finley are fun.
Yep.
It's a raucous environment, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Wolfpack in a spot at 4-5, where they need a couple of wins for bowl eligibility. Louisville needs 1. Here's DeVito on 3rd and long, and that ball is sent into the bench. So for the first time here in the second half, the Orange will go quietly in 3 snaps. Actually in the 4th quarter, because they went on their opening possession 3 and out. And Dino Babers with a word for his quarterback.
was only a two-man route, and Tommy DeVito made the right decision throwing that ball out of bounds. At this point in the game, it's all about just not throwing it to the other team, because Duke's offense hasn't proven that it can get anything going and get back into it.
Hofrichter just trying to hold this one up and let it check out of bounds, and it does. Boy, Sterling Hofrichter gives you plenty to Katrinik, a sophomore from Algonquin, Illinois, has taken over at quarterback with Mateo Durant, the running back. And here is Katrinik. He will stretch it out for about 4 to the 9 before Alton Robinson makes the stop.
Katrinik, a guy that's only thrown 9 passes this year, 6 rushes for 20 yards on the season. He's only played really in mop-up duty, but I like Dave Cutcliffe going to him here. Give your backup some experience. See if you can get this offense going a little bit of a spark.
Katrinik's only thrown 9 passes during the year. And here is Durant for a first down run.
Tell you what type of young man Quentin Harris is. Even though he got pulled from this game, he came down, dapped up all the offensive line, trying to get them going for this season to support the young quarterback coming in. That is the move that you want to see from your 5th-year graduate quarterback.
Yep. And Duke just going to run the ball here with Durant, and the whistle blows on the first down play of about 2.5 or 3. Antoine Cordy the stop.
And that's who Quentin Harris is. You know, he's the type of guy that even when he gets the news, hey, we're going to get Katrinik in the game, he's going to rally the troops. He's been in a leadership role on this team for a number of seasons, even though the starter was Daniel Jones. He and Daniel Jones were 2 of the leaders on this team, so that's not going to leave no matter what's going on in adversity here.
It's Katrinik getting a first down, taken out of bounds in the Duke bench area near the 30. And that'll be another Blue Devil first down.
Quarterback sweep, get to the outside. Katrinik able to get up the field and out of bounds. And to be quite honest, this is what I wanted to see more of with Quentin Harris in the game. Why not some of this stuff where you're able to get him on the perimeter, get some quarterback runs where you have an extra blocker to help even those numbers.
Katrinik going to throw his 10th pass of the year, looking for Aaron Young, and it's incomplete.
Pass intended for Aaron Young is incomplete.
Fatu Melifonwu in coverage for the Orange. Well, we have seen quite a change in Syracuse's football fate in 2 weeks, haven't we? A couple of weeks ago against Boston College, couldn't get the Eagles stopped and had a hard time really doing anything offensively. They did hit a couple home run balls on Steve Adazio's team, and now after a bye week, the offense has been very good, and the defense has changed its fortune a little bit here this afternoon at Wallace Wade Stadium. Andrew Armstrong, by the way, the linebacker, shaken up on the play for Syracuse here after Robinson led the tackle charge.
In many ways, I would say the defense today has been better than the offense. Steve Stannard has to be happy with his program.
5-6, Syracuse in front of Duke. Roddy Jones, what a difference 2 weeks makes.
Let me see if I can do the math here. 58 minus 6, that's a 52-point difference there this week. I mean,
you know, showcase the rush numbers while we're there?
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not going to do that math.
That's long.
That's easy. That's easy.
Well,
406 yards. A 406 yard difference. I mean, that's incredible.
There you go.
Those were big numbers there. So I was a little intimidated by that. But in all seriousness, this defense has really played fantastic, and you see it there on that play as well.
Yep. Lakeem Williams, who's got 13 tackles unofficially, and Duke now has missed on their last 11 third down tries.
Well, the thing that this Syracuse defense has been able to do is challenge Duke on the outside. They've come up and they've pressed, which has allowed them to get home rushing only 5. I mean, they have not overwhelmed this Duke offensive line with numbers. It's really just been winning one-on-one battles. And the fact that they've been so good on the outside and Duke has had no threat of going downfield has been incredible.
Tell you what, Parker just almost hit that one head high down the field to about the 31-yard line. 10-20 and change to go. 29-point lead for the Orange.
Ends up a defensive tackle. You see him on the stun, able to create pressure and puts a big hit on Quentin Harris. And with a little turnout block on the corner. And how about we do it again? This time it gets a defensive end, Victor DeMcCagey, and then he goes and greets Mo Neal in the end zone. Chris Elmore, one of the few. Is there another two-way player in the ACC? I don't know if there is. I can't think of one.
Oh, boy. Jarvion Howard, by the way, is coming to the ball game. The sophomore from Columbia, Mississippi at the running back spot. And there is the Rhino out of Chicago. Chris Elmore playing the H-back, if you will, for Dino Babers' offense. Oh, boy.
Speaking of Dino Babers' offense, while you try and rack your brain for another
think
two-way
about the
player.
teams we've covered here. I'm trying to think, have we seen guys line up both ways? Elmore, we know.
I have not, no. You may get a touchdown from one of the Clemson defensive linemen at some point. They tend to like to do that, but I would consider them two-way players.
Look out. Howard has speed. And into Duke territory. Marquise Waters, the tackle of the 213-pound sophomore Jarvion Howard. 37 yards.
Get two pullers here. Aaron Service, normally playing center. You see him wrap around from the left tackle position there. That is not easy to do, and that's the benefit of the bye week last week. They were able to cross-train him, get him some experience. He's not making that without a week off and getting some experience back at left tackle.
And Eric, when you're a guy who is a natural left tackle, a guy who has played left tackle, when you go back to that, how long does it take to get back in the flow of that?
You know, he's probably excited. I remember I was drafted to play center, ended up at guard as we go in for the touchdown, but I was very happy to go back to center, I'll say that.
Well, Eric, it was the same play. You got two pullers again. Looked like it was Service and Adams out front. And you get Jarvion Howard to the house.
Absolutely. 28-yard run, Jarvion Howard the touchdown. And it's his second of the year.
Would you like to pull Lee Wood? Get out in front and block a little bit for those backs?
I would, and I always felt like, you know, I wasn't naturally a huge guy up front, so I always liked showing off a little bit of athleticism, get out in the perimeter and pull.
Point after good, but the young man from the same hometown as Walter Payton does the damage here. The Orange in full control in Durham. 47 to play here. Jarvion Howard, the touchdown run, his second of the year, and the Orange have jumped to a commanding 42-6 lead with a second-half explosion fueled by 3 Duke turnovers that were all cashed in for touchdowns. And Louisville and NC State follow us, and then following that, late night all ACC scores, highlights, breakdowns, post-game interviews from the day and night on the gridiron. And the whole crew will be there. If you've seen the huddle early, you need to stay up late for all ACC right here on ACC Network.
Let's just say after those guys have been sitting there watching games all
come
day.
off, the socks, usually we go, you know, a little more relaxed atmosphere.
Never know what you're going to get.
In the studio.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Chris Katrinick, the Duke quarterback, out of bounds after about a gain of 7. That's where Coach Rick debuted the spork. The way to the 10-bite sandwich. Never know what you're going to get all ACC late night.
EJ Manuel got up one time, started shuffling up, showing how to move up in the pocket.
Exactly. Second down and 3 for the Blue Devils, and Katrinick on a keep. And pulled back over at the 33 by Mikel Jones. Young linebacker, freshman from Miami, went to IMG Academy. I'll tell you what, Syracuse has done a nice job recruiting the Eastern Seaboard, guys. When you look up and down the roster, young guys from Florida all the way into New York, North Carolina, Georgia. This is marker down on the play here on 3rd and short. Mateo Durant the carry for the Blue Devils. Let's see what Jeff Heeser's crew has for us here.
Offside, defense, number 97. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
5th-year senior Brandon Berry guilty.
Yeah,
oh,
lines
yeah.
Up offside.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. I'd say slightly obvious.
Yep. Flag came out right away on Berry.
Interesting thing here with Chris Katrinick in the game and quarterback for Duke, Wes, is how much quarterback run we've seen. And you know, Dave Cutcliffe was very non-committal when we talked to him yesterday and asking who the next guy was going to be at quarterback, because he wanted to be in true competition. He's excited about the prospect of the people, the quarterbacks he may bring in. He's excited about the guys he has on the roster.
Right.
Katrinik's certainly going to be in that mix, but there's always the question in the ACC, who is David Cutcliffe going to have back there taking snaps? Because whoever it's been has been really good over the course of his time here.
Yep, the pedigree of the Blue Devil quarterbacks in his 12 years here in Durham have been outstanding. He arrived here in 2008. Ironically, was hired just days after Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech was hired in early December. Coach Cutcliffe came here, and while Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech won 20 games in his first 2 years, the system to success at Duke, Roddy, was a little quieter here. I mean, it was frustrating early for the Blue Devils. Long throw, Katrinik looking for Eli Pancole, and that'll bring out a flag. Stritzinger in coverage commits the penalty.
Pass interference, defense, number 24, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Another look here.
Well, Duke finally goes downfield, and it's a slot fade, just Pancole one-on-one against Stritzinger, and the ball's underthrown. But because the ball's underthrown, Pancole tries to fight back towards it. Stritzinger commits the foul.
Elijah DeVoe is the running back, but here is Katrinik, and I think he was hoping Bobo would take off for the pylon and did not. So it'll be second down and 10. So here are the quarterbacks that David Cutcliffe's had in his Blue Devil career. Thad Lewis, of course, Sean Renfrey out of Scottsdale, Arizona, Anthony Boone, who took the Blue Devils to the title game.
Player of the year in the ACC.
Thomas Sirk, the touchdown vulture, right?
He was, and the interesting thing is, you know, 4 of those guys were true passers.
Yep.
Lewis and well, Renfrey could run a little bit too, and Boone could all run a little bit. Daniel Jones, mobile, but the offense completely changed with Thomas Sirk. It became a more run-heavy offense for that 1 year in between Boone and Jones. But you ask coaches around the ACC that played against those guys, all of those guys presented issues.
But average yards now, the lowest number out there is 2,480.
Yeah.
And I say that to tell you that Quentin Harris was at 1602 coming into today. The throw game from the Duke perspective under David Cutcliffe has not been as impactful this year as it has been in his previous 11.
And I think that's a litany of things. One, the struggles of Quentin Harris are hard to overlook.
Right.
I mean, there have been struggles there. 2, you've had inexperience on the outside and some injuries. Jake Bobo's been in and out of the lineup.
Yep.
There's youth on the outside, and while these young receivers are talented, the consistency, play in and play out, just has not been there. So it has been a complete struggle for this Duke offense.
Yep. And the Blue Devils are 4 of 19 on third down, and now they're going for it here on 4th and the full, and they will cash out on downs here. Misfiring is Katrinik, and with just under 6 minutes to go, the ball intended for Harding. And the Orange will take over here.
The first guy on that list that was shown on that graphic was Thad Lewis, a guy who I snapped to in the NFL, and it was interesting talking to Quentin Harris and David Cutcliffe yesterday, and all the information, everything they put on the quarterback's platter, it gets them so ready to be an NFL quarterback, and I was so impressed. We picked up Thad Lewis mid-season, and we thrust him because of injury into the starting lineup, and he was so mature, and he was so just well-rounded as a quarterback, and a lot of that comes from the quarterback grooming that he got from Coach Cutcliffe.
You know, it's amazing, Eric, when you start talking about David Cutcliffe guys, and it's obvious, the first 2 are Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, right? I mean, and that's easy. Those cats have won Super Bowls, right?
Yep.
But you go through his quarterbacking career, whether it's at the University of Tennessee, at Ole Miss, what he's done here at Duke. I mean, don't forget now, Heath Schuler played for David Cutcliffe at Tennessee.
And when you look at the quarterback history of both of these coaches, really.
Yep.
I mean, you look at
Dino Babers with Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Eric Dungy, a guy who hasn't caught on in the NFL, but a fantastic college football player. You have to be excited about where this Syracuse offense is going to continue to develop with Tommy DeVito, a guy who was a 4-star Elite 11 guy coming out of high school.
Not to mention the guys that Dino Babers worked with in places like UCLA, Baylor.
Right? Exactly. Yep, Texas A&M.
Here's Clayton Welch, by the way, getting his first snaps. Senior from Chico, California, transferred into the junior college to be a part of this Orange program. Syracuse, by the way, will be at Cardinal Stadium next Saturday. Chris Cotter, Mark Herslet, Kelsey Riggs will be there to see the Orange and the Cardinals. And after today's win, Syracuse will pick up their first league win, and they'll be 4-6 overall, with Louisville and Wake Forest left to go on their calendar.
Well, that Louisville game is certainly going to be challenging, but I mean, that one might be a race to 60.
Oh, it might be. The Cardinals have been giving up a lot of points lately, and you got to give Scott Satterfield and his staff a lot of credit, though. This is a team that really had no recruiting class last year based upon when Scott Satterfield was hired. Hit by the transfer portal harder than anybody else in college football, and they came out this year and they got 5 wins already. And this defense was epically bad last year, historically bad in some categories. And yes, they are struggling again this year, but the strides they've made, the effort they've seen, the improvement they've seen in those areas is encouraging for Cardinal fans.
Jarvion Howard, by the way, over 100 yards on his 8th carry, as he picks up the first down to the 33-yard line of Duke as we go inside 3.5. We showed you the FPI percentages to win for Syracuse in those remaining ball games.
Well, I think what you've seen in Louisville, the difference between this year and last year, is similar to what you saw in Syracuse, the difference defensively from the last time we saw them against Boston College to this week. I mean, they're playing hard with confidence, flying around. And look, it was a cold night up in Boston where they had to tackle A.J. Dillon and David Bailey over and over and over. Or, excuse me, that was a cold day in the Carrier Dome where they had to do that. It felt colder because you got to tackle those big dudes. But the fact that they come out and play hard this week is impressive.
Jarvion Howard is giving Syracuse a real boost in the run game. Damani Neal, the tackle of Howard, who is now well over 100 yards on 9 carries, 115 yards and a touchdown for Howard.
I agree with you, Roddy, with the difference in effort out there today. And the guys I saw most from, number 55, Kendall Coleman, number 94, Alton Robinson, and they were an absolute handful for the tackles for Duke. And you had the right tackle, Monk, and he's a true freshman. That's a really tough matchup against Alton Robinson. And then when Casey Holman went down, Jalen Miller came in. He had a really tough time with Kendall Coleman, but a lot of guys do. Those are 2 preseason All-ACC defensive ends.
Jawar Jordan, by the way, around the edge. First and goal coming up for the Orange, who are now well over 270 yards of rushing today, which will be a season high, surpassing the 256 they posted against Western Michigan back earlier in the campaign. Well, Louisville and NC State will finish the night in week 12 of ACC football. Started on Thursday night with Carolina and Pittsburgh going to overtime, and here's Jordan fighting for the end zone, and he scores. So Jawar Jordan gets his first touchdown of the year for the Orange. And we've got an injured Blue Devil on the play as Jordan scores with under 2 minutes to go.
This offensive line has just continued to push around Duke up front. How about the ability to create explosive plays for this offense? I mean, it started early with Tristan Jackson, and then Mo Neal got involved. The defense got involved. It's been a really complete performance from Syracuse, one that we have not seen since last season.
And Dino Babers happy for his young freshman from Farmingdale, New York. Jordan, who Mike Lynch told us a couple of weeks ago is really part of our speed package. Well, he did just that there.
And we're told by our camera crew that the injury that was suffered is one that we're not going to replay. A little bit of helmet-to-helmet contact. And it's good to see. Looks like number 53.
Taj Rice.
Taj Rice.
Yep.
Sitting up, walking off the field.
So big Taj Rice out of Louisville, playing in his 20th career game. Well, Duke is going to travel over to Winston-Salem next Saturday and meet a Wake Forest team that lost today at Clemson.
Wake Forest team that's beat up.
Yes, sir.
Injury to Justin Chenot on defense, Scotty Washington, Sage Surratt.
Yep.
It's been tough for the Deeks.
Sure has. Syracuse.
And do a little spot with Katie at NC State since we're so close. I mean,
I had a lot of things going on yesterday as we get to the final 2 minutes here from Durham. We had to get you guys to Cameron and to the Smith Center last night, and we had to get a full week of football in play here. We got Clemson winning 52-3. They finished the ACC route 8-0.
Well, speaking of Packer and Durham, there's a little thing that you guys do on Mondays called accounting.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech fans become very familiar with accounting. It will be interesting to see after shutting out the Jackets where both the Hokies end up. You had them at number 2.
I had them at 2.
Absolutely.
I made a mistake a couple weeks ago.
What did Mac have them? Mac and Pat.
Pack had them at 3. Okay. I'm not sure what Mac Clain did. Mac Clain probably needs to be asked about that tonight on All ACC Late Night.
Yeah. Well, the real question, Wes.
Yeah.
I believe on multiple lists, this group that we're seeing right now, the Syracuse Orange, were at 14.
They were.
So
they will not be on my list at 14 Monday.
Well, there you go.
Dino Babers and I had a deep conversation about that.
You got to turn into Packer and Durham on Monday to see where they end up.
7 o'clock Eastern on ACC Network.
I think my alma mater may claim that 14 spot once again.
There's a chance. By the way, Jalen Coleman, by the way, has come in at running back. Virginia Tech's win 45-0 today over Georgia Tech in Atlanta is the first time the Jackets have been shut out in 22 years. Since 1997 at Tallahassee.
It almost happened earlier in the season, and they got what was it, a safety against Temple?
Yep. Clemson a big winner. Tigers have now won 22 straight at home, 19 straight in the ACC, 26 in a row. Pretty good for a team who had to make some statements the last couple of weeks, Eric.
I'll say that, and I'll say this. As talented as they are and them hitting their stride right now, you know, they left them out of the first college football playoff deal, and now they're in. That is a team that no one wants to see in those final 2 games of the season. I will say that.
Right about that. By the way, I mentioned this thing started Thursday night with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. How good is Pitt, Virginia Tech going to be Saturday in Blacksburg?
Look, Virginia Tech controls its own destiny on this side of the division. And if it comes down to it at the end, the Commonwealth Cup for all the marbles in the Coastal.
Unbelievable.
Ooh.
By the way, congratulations to Odell Haggins in Florida State. They got bowl eligible today.
4 Odell.
Or I heard Bowdell earlier.
Bowdell?
Bowdell, yeah.
Eric McLean giving me a little bit of a sneak peek on what the accounting's going to be there.
I bet he is.
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
What did he say?
Well, I'm not liking some of what I'm seeing.
What did he say?
Let's just say the Jackets are going to plummet to the bottom.
Well, Dino Babers and Syracuse pick up their first ACC win, snap a 4-game skid, and it was impressive on both sides of the ball, wasn't it, Roddy?
It was a complete performance. Dino Babers has talked to us a number of times about the fact that he was waiting for his team to play well on offense, defense, special teams in the same game. Offensively came out, set the tone, and Steve Stannard, the defensive coordinator, the interim defensive coordinator being promoted after the firing of Brian Ward, able to get his group to play extremely well, only giving up 6